Chapter 5193. Lin Feng said, "It's useless. I've refined these formation flags for a long time. Now that I've activated them, you're dreaming if you think you can deal with me. Boy, you're really boasting shamelessly." The leader of the golden skeletons sneered, not taking Lin Feng seriously at all. "Attack." He waved his hand. Then, the skeletons all attacked Lin Feng with all kinds of weapons in their hands. The power of each weapon was quite tyrannical. All kinds of powerful attacks bombarded Lin Feng. Facing these attacks, Lin Feng couldn't help but sneer. He formed a series of seals, which merged into the 64 formation flags. As the seals merged into the flags, the 64 formation flags formed a huge defensive shield. When the attacks of the skeletons came crashing down, unexpectedly, all of them were blocked by the defensive light barrier. After seeing this, the ghostly fire in the eyes of the leader of the golden skeletons flickered even more violently. Obviously, he was extremely angry. No wonder he was so angry. Lin Feng had made fun of him, and then he realized that Lin Feng had used the time he had been playing with him to create a powerful defensive barrier. Anyone who encountered such a thing would be in a bad mood, especially these experts. They had strong self-esteem, so they absolutely couldn't tolerate being humiliated. "Boy, do you think you can withstand the attacks of the skeletons with a turtle shell? Your tortoise shell might be strong, but how long can it last?" The leader of the golden skeletons said coldly, "When your defensive formation is broken, you still can't escape death. But don't worry, I won't let you die so easily. I'll cut off your flesh piece by piece, then pull out your soul and throw it into the endless purgatory. You'll never be reincarnated." It seemed that this guy really hated Lin Feng. He was gnashing his teeth in hatred, but it was no wonder. It would be strange if he didn't hate Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, "Do you think that the formation I set up with so many precious formation flags is only for defense? If that's the case, then you're gravely mistaken. The formation I set up is both offensive and defensive." The leader of the golden skeletons said disdainfully, "Both offensive and defensive? How laughable. Do you want to rely on this formation to deal with the skeletons? You're just daydreaming," said Lin Feng. "I didn't say that my deployment spell could deal with your skeleton army, but my deployment spell can connect to some of the deployment spells in Demon Valley. If I could activate the deployment spells in Demon Valley, do you think I would be able to destroy you?" Hearing this, the ghostly fire in the eyes of the golden skeletons flickered fiercely. The ghostly flames in the eye sockets of the rest of the golden skeletons, including the ordinary skeletons, began to flicker violently. Lin Feng's words, "It was indeed a great deterrent to them," was because the restrictions in Devil Stream were too powerful. If Lin Feng could really use the restrictions in Devil Stream to deal with them, how terrifying would that be? They felt that Lin Feng was just boasting. After all, activating the restrictions in Devil Stream was too difficult. But what if Lin Feng was telling the truth? This was not a good thing for them. The leader of the golden skeletons quickly said, "Attack with all your might and destroy the formation he set up." The skeletons did not dare to hesitate. They all attacked. At this moment, they no longer held back. Everyone, all of them had used their most powerful techniques. Therefore, when the skeletons' attacks gathered together, the power of their attacks was extremely terrifying. It was enough to make one's soul tremble. Bang, bang, bang. The overwhelming attacks bombarded the defensive light barrier Lin Feng had created with his formation. However, the power of the defensive light barrier was still shocking. The attacks of the skeletons were still blocked. At this time, Lin Feng had already begun to activate the 64 array flags to communicate with the restrictions in Devil Stream. Borrowing the power of the restrictions to fight against the enemy was actually a very difficult thing to do. But for the cultivators of the Heaven Master lineage, it was a very normal thing. This was a normal operation for the cultivators of the Heaven Master lineage. Of course, it also depended on where the restrictions were used to fight against the enemy. Ordinary restrictions were naturally very easy to control, but Devil Stream was different. The restrictions here were very powerful, and even Lin Feng was afraid of them. It was really too difficult to use the restrictions here to fight against the enemy. However, although it was difficult, it was not completely impossible. Lin Feng knew that it was almost impossible to deal with the attacks of the skeletons, and try to use the restrictions in Devil Stream to deal with the skeletons at the same time. That was why Lin Feng had set up this formation. The formation focused on defense. Once the defense was done, Lin Feng would have time to communicate with the restrictions in Devil Stream. In addition to defense, the formation could also create a special connection with the restrictions in Devil Stream. This connection, it could help Lin Feng to successfully communicate with the restrictions in Devil Stream. Sure enough, soon, Lin Feng communicated with the restrictions in Devil Stream. When Lin Feng communicated with the restrictions in Devil Stream, Lin Feng immediately began to activate the restrictions in Devil Stream. Boom, boom. Immediately after, an earth-shattering sound spread in the air. Lin Feng had activated the deployment spell of Demon Valley. The activation of the Devil Stream's restrictions was simply shocking to the heavens and earth. This kind of power was really terrifying to the extreme. Even the powerful creatures in the Devil Stream were looking at the 13 mountain peaks in horror. The restrictions in Devil Stream were usually scattered all around. How could it be like now, showing their might together? Even the powerful creatures in the restricted areas only dared to watch from afar and did not dare to approach the situation in front of them. And at this time, the power of the restrictions descended from the sky and blasted towards the skeletons. Bang, bang, bang. When the power of the restrictions blasted into the skeletons were sent flying and their bodies exploded. However, Lin Feng discovered that after the skeletons' bodies were destroyed, they began to recover at an extremely fast speed. We are undead creatures. Chapter 5194. Clang! His saber landed on Lin Feng's defensive barrier, causing it to shake violently. This guy's strength was truly terrifying. Lin Feng felt his hair stand on end. However, the barrier Lin Feng summoned was powerful enough. As long as it was there, this guy wouldn't be able to destroy it in a short time. Lin Feng sneered. How can there be undead in this world? This so-called undying is just a lie. If you find the right method, this so-called undying will become a joke. But don't worry, I won't kill you guys today. That would be letting you off too easily. When Lin Feng finished talking, he started chanting a spell. O mighty Tao of Destiny, please descend with the power of destiny. Turn these undead creatures who should have turned into undead creatures without godly power. They should be punished. They should no longer possess such great power. When Lin Feng finished chanting, a powerful force of destiny descended from the void. Lin Feng didn't directly kill these undead creatures when he was communicating with the Tao of Destiny. These guys were a bunch of evil and heartless people when they were alive. Killing them directly would instead allow them to be freed. Death wasn't the scariest thing. The scariest thing was despair. Now, Lin Feng wanted to deprive them of their godly strength so that they wouldn't die. But they wouldn't die. They would suffer an endless amount of pain. That was what Lin Feng wanted to do. Now, Lin Feng wanted to deprive them of their godly strength, but they wouldn't die. They would suffer an endless amount of pain. That was what Lin Feng wanted to do. Bang, bang, bang. Lin Feng controlled the power of the barrier to continue attacking the undead creatures. The undead creatures were sent flying like before. Their bodies were blasted apart, but their bodies reassembled at a speed visible to the naked eye. However, as their bodies reassembled, the power of destiny wrapped around them. In fact, the undead were at their weakest when they reformed. At this time, they needed to condense their divine force. But at this time, fate power would directly devour the divine force of the undead. After losing their divine force, the undead would turn into ordinary skeletons. They didn't have much fighting strength left. It was like a middle-aged man in his prime turning into an old man. At this age, even standing up would be a problem, let alone hurting others. The undead creatures were the same. As soon as they reassembled their bodies, many parts of their bodies began to separate from their bodies. A gust of wind could blow their bodies apart. How did it become like this? How did it become like this? The undead creatures roared unwillingly. They were in despair, truly in despair. They had lost their strength. They would become incomparably weak, and they would lose all hope of surviving the calamity. All these years, they had been tortured by the curse of the Sea Maiden before her death. They were living a life worse than death. Their motivation to continue living was that one day, they would be able to survive the calamity. But now, Lin Feng had personally destroyed all their hopes. If they had been killed, it would have been fine. But the key was that they were still alive. Wouldn't that mean that they would be tormented for eternity? Therefore, the undead creatures seemed to have gone crazy. The great art of destiny. Damn it, damn it. The leader of the golden skeletons couldn't help but roar in anger. He was experienced and knowledgeable, and he recognized the great art of destiny that Lin Feng used. His emotions fluctuated violently because he knew that they might not be able to do anything to Lin Feng. Once Lin Feng took away the Sea Maiden's corpse, they would be completely trapped in this place. From then on, they wouldn't be able to leave and would have to suffer endless torment. Thinking of this, the leader of the golden skeletons trembled. He absolutely didn't want to see such a thing happen. "Fight him to the death," shouted the leader of the golden skeletons. "Fight! Fight him to the death!" The dozen or so golden skeletons roared, and the other skeletons followed suit. The skeletons' bodies began to burn. As their bodies burned, an extremely terrifying power was released from their bodies. When Lin Feng sensed the power emitted from their bodies, he couldn't help but be slightly surprised. These guys actually knew a secret technique that could increase their battle strength. Lin Feng didn't dare to be careless. He took out a few more formation flags and inserted them into the ground. These formation flags were very precious, and they would be destroyed after a single use. They were also very difficult to refine, but Lin Feng didn't have any misgivings about dealing with the army of undead. He could think of a way to get more things after he used them up, but if he died, he would really be done for. After getting the support of the new formation flags, the defensive barrier suddenly became much stronger. Therefore, even though the undead were going all out, the defensive barrier condensed by Lin Feng was also greatly strengthened. Therefore, the attacks of the undead weren't able to break through the defensive barrier condensed by Lin Feng. On the other hand, Lin Feng didn't stop attacking. The power of the restrictions and the power of the Great Fate technique made it difficult for the undead to resist. The army of undead gradually turned into ordinary skeletons that had lost their divine power. They were simply pitifully weak. In the end, only a dozen or so golden skeletons and 100 relatively stronger undead were left. When these guys saw that the situation was hopeless, they turned around and wanted to escape, but Lin Feng didn't give them the opportunity. Lin Feng used his domineering magnetic field. Suddenly, their speed plummeted, and they couldn't avoid the attacks of the restrictions. After being attacked by the restrictions, their bodies were shattered, and the power of fate surged, instantly depriving them of their divine power. The golden skeletons resisted for a longer time than the other undead. After all, they were relatively stronger. However, in order to deal with these guys, Lin Feng directly flew out. When they saw Lin Feng flying out, the skeletons' killing intent soared to the sky and attacked Lin Feng. However, because Lin Feng could control the power of the restrictions, the attacks of the golden skeletons were dissolved by the restrictions. Lin Feng cooperated with the power of the restrictions to seriously injure the golden skeletons, including the leader of the golden skeletons. The power of fate deprived the golden skeletons of their divine power. These powerful golden skeletons also turned into ordinary skeletons. Chapter 5195. Why is this happening? I can't accept this. I can't accept this. The leading golden skeleton roared. He had been looking forward to the day he would be able to complete his tribulation. He had been waiting for this day for so many years, but the result was so cruel that he almost went insane. Why are you helping the Sea Lady? Why are you helping her? You have nothing to do with the Sea Maiden. She is the daughter of the Sea God, while you are a human cultivator. What is the reason for you to enter Devil Stream to help her? Asked the leader of the golden skeletons, staring at Lin Feng. Before, Lin Feng had said that he had come here by accident, and that he had seen the Sea Maiden, so he wanted to bury her. The leader of the golden skeletons didn't believe him at all. Lin Feng was lying, and he didn't believe him at all. It would be strange if he believed him. He wanted to know the answer. Lin Feng sent the leading golden skeleton flying with a kick. Lin Feng's kick shattered the leading golden skeleton's body. Get the hell out of my sight. I don't have any obligation to tell you these things, said Lin Feng. Lin Feng sneered. Lin Feng didn't stay any longer. He quickly flew out. Devil Stream was too dangerous, so Lin Feng didn't want to stay here for too long. Now that he had found the sea lady's corpse, it was time to leave. The other skeletons naturally didn't dare to stop Lin Feng. Therefore, Lin Feng left the 13th mountain without a hitch. Earlier, when the restrictive power of the 13 mountains was activated, many of the creatures in Devil Stream were alarmed. Most of them had hidden in their nests to observe the situation. That was why Lin Feng didn't discover a single terrifying creature when he left. When he arrived at the 9th mountain, Lin Feng couldn't help but worry. Lin Feng had been trapped in the 9th mountain. If it wasn't for that mysterious ball of light, Lin Feng didn't know if he would have been able to escape. The 9th mountain was indeed very strange. Perhaps anything related to the number 9 was extremely terrifying. What should he do next? This was a rather troublesome matter. Should he charge out directly? Could he do that? Lin Feng was nervous. Should he go around the 9th mountain? But there seemed to be no way around it. After thinking about it, it seemed that he could only go through the 9th mountain. Hopefully, everything would go smoothly. Thinking about that, Lin Feng took a deep breath and entered the 9th mountain. He carefully observed his surroundings. Lin Feng was surprised that he didn't encounter any danger along the way. He was about to leave the 9th mountain. Lin Feng even heaved a sigh of relief. But at this moment, Lin Feng felt that something was wrong. The sounds of insects and birds had disappeared. The entire forest became extremely quiet. Suddenly, Lin Feng's eyes narrowed. He saw a ball of black flames approaching him. There seemed to be a terrifying creature in the ball of black flames. Normally speaking, the creatures in this place would choose to hide their true body. This was a form of self-protection. But this creature didn't choose to do so. Lin Feng didn't know what this creature in the ball of black flames was, but Lin Feng could feel a suffocating pressure surging towards him. It was a terrible feeling. The creatures in the Devil Stream were already terrifying, let alone the creature in the 9th mountain. In fact, these powerful creatures were extremely sensitive to danger. The creatures in the Devil Stream wouldn't easily set foot on the 9th mountain. This was because the 9th mountain represented misfortune. They naturally didn't want to be tainted by such misfortune, so they wouldn't enter the 9th mountain under normal circumstances. Only those who could ignore misfortune would enter the 9th mountain. And such a creature would be unimaginably powerful. Lin Feng had a feeling. This creature in the ball of black flames might be a creature that could ignore misfortune. Suddenly, the creature in the ball of black flames sped up and charged towards Lin Feng. Lin Feng's expression became extremely ugly. The other party didn't come with good intentions. Lin Feng quickly took out his epical war spear. To deal with such a terrifying creature, he naturally needed to use a supreme treasure like the epical war spear. Perhaps even divine abilities wouldn't be able to break through this creature's defense. Die! Lin Feng stabbed the epical war spear at the terrifying creature in the ball of black flames. Bang! The terrifying creature swiped its claw and sent Lin Feng's epical war spear flying. Lin Feng's epical war spear stabbed into the ground. When Lin Feng fought against others, even if he was no match for them, it was rare for him to lose his weapon. But now, his epical war spear ghost had lost his grip. Before this was simply unimaginable. The creature in the ball of black flames quickly arrived in front of Lin Feng and swiped its claw at Lin Feng. The aura of death instantly enveloped Lin Feng's body. Lin Feng hurriedly performed the heaven patching technique. His body instantly disappeared. But at this moment, the terrifying creature in the ball of black flames whipped its tail towards the void. Bang! When its tail hit the void, something shocking happened. Overwhelming power. It rushed into the void. Lin Feng was actually sent flying. Crack! Crack! 2 more cracks appeared on Lin Feng's stone armor. Lin Feng wanted to cry but had no tears. The attack just now almost destroyed his stone armor. Lin Feng's body had not stabilized yet. The creature in the ball of black flames pounced at Lin Feng again. Then, a claw came out of the ball of black flames and swiped at Lin Feng. Lin Feng activated the power of the arm of the dragon and elephant and swiped at the claw. But, surprisingly, Lin Feng was blown away by that claw. He sensed a strength which could topple mountains and overturn seas penetrate into his body. That power. It shook his blood and chi, and he almost spat out a mouthful of blood. Of course, this was not the most terrifying thing. The most terrifying thing was that terrifying attack. That terrifying existence appeared in front of Lin Feng again, as if it had teleported. Then, an invisible pressure enveloped Lin Feng. Lin Feng quickly realized that his body could not move. He knew that he had been imprisoned by that terrifying existence. Chapter 5196. Lin Feng didn't know how strong that cultivator was because his draconic elephant arm was 6 times stronger than before, but it hadn't been able to stop that cultivator's attack. From that, one could imagine how strong that cultivator was. Its power. It could only be described as shocking. Now that Lin Feng was imprisoned by this terrifying existence, he couldn't dodge or resist. If his head really suffered this terrifying attack, when the time came, wouldn't he die miserably? This guy, it was definitely a king-level existence, and it was the king of Devilstream. Otherwise, it would be impossible for it to have such terrifying strength. Lin Feng felt an unprecedented sense of crisis. He tried to take out some powerful magic treasures to deal with this terrifying existence, but Lin Feng found that his connection with time and space was cut off. It was this terrifying existence. It cut off his connection with time and space. It's over. Lin Feng's face turned pale. The situation in front of him. It was really too despairing. Just as the terrifying existence's claws were about to hit Lin Feng's head, suddenly, a divine light shone on Lin Feng. That divine light. It was dazzling. It instantly enveloped Lin Feng. Shua. The light flashed. Lin Feng disappeared without a trace. Damn, I didn't die? Lin Feng appeared 100 meters away, revealing a surprised expression. Originally, Lin Feng thought that he would definitely die, but he didn't expect that he would survive. Lin Feng looked not far away. There was a ball of light there. When he saw that ball of light, Lin Feng revealed a shocked expression. When he was trapped here before, wasn't it because he saw a ball of light that he was finally able to get out of this place? That ball of light seemed to be the one in front of him. This made Lin Feng's face reveal a happy expression. This ball of light appeared to save him, which meant that it was fated with him. Perhaps he wouldn't have to die. Lonely traveler, you have crossed the line. At this moment, a cold voice came from the black flames. Clearly, the terrifying being in the black flames had spoken. Lin Feng still hadn't figured out what the terrifying creature in the black flames was. Let's call it the Black Flame Beast for now. This name sounds too depressing. It sounded like the name of a low-level ferocious beast, but in reality, the terror of this black flame beast was enough to make the world pale in comparison. Golden Immortal level? Sage Immortal realm? Anyway, he was very strong. Lin Feng wouldn't doubt that this guy was at the Sage realm. I will attack when I want to. What can you do about it? A voice came from the ball of light. Listen to the voice. He seemed to be quite young. The Black Flame Beast referred to this person as the Lone Walker. Why was it called the Lone Walker? Lin Feng didn't quite understand. Now, Lin Feng was able to contact the Demon Lord. Lin Feng asked, Demon Lord, the Black Flame Beast said that the being in the ball of light is the Lone Walker. What does that mean? The Demon Lord replied, the Lone Walker refers to a special kind of person. This kind of person's cultivation is extremely high. They use some secret technique to divide themselves into 3. Divide into 3? What the hell? What kind of technique is that? Did he refine 2 clones? Lin Feng asked. No, all 3 of them are his body, not his avatars. It's just that these 3 bodies are somewhat special. Of these 3 bodies, one is the body of the present, one is the body of the future, and one is the body of the past. The body of the present lives in the present, the body of the past lives in the past, and the body of the future lives in the future. No way? Doesn't that sound a little unbelievable? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. The Demon Lord's words were indeed unbelievable. Didn't you cultivate the past, present, and future chapters? Actually, dividing one's body into 3 and entering the past and future isn't impossible. The only reason you can't do it is because you're not strong enough. The Demon Lord explained. If that's the case, then this existence is one of the past, present, and future sovereigns? Asked Lin Feng telepathically. It should be. The demon lord nodded. But it's hard to say which body it is. Why divide into three? Isn't that weakening your own strength? Lin Feng asked, puzzled. Yes, it does weaken your own strength. The reason it's divided into three is because people like him want to surpass the limits of cultivation. The demon lord narrowed his eyes. Lin Feng could understand after hearing the demon lord's explanation. Surpassing the limits of cultivation. It did require some special and powerful techniques, doing things that ordinary people couldn't do. Only then could one complete transcendence. But the method of transcendence varied from person to person. Perhaps the other party felt that this was a method worth trying, so he chose this method. At this moment, the Black Flame Beast and the Lone Walker were fighting. Because the Black Flame Beast's target was Lin Feng, the Lone Walker saved Lin Feng. Although you're strong, you're not necessarily my match, the Black Flame Beast said coldly. Are you daydreaming? The Lone Walker said. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Judging from the Lone Walker's tone, this guy, he probably had a very shameless personality, right? But Lin Feng also knew. Being shameless was only on the surface. This kind of person's heart was usually stronger. Their sense of responsibility was probably many times stronger than those so-called righteous cultivators. You're courting death. The Black Flame Beast was very angry. It flew into the air. 10,000 demon sky claw. Suddenly, the Black Flame Beast attacked. A claw slapped towards the Lone Walker. Suddenly, Lin Feng felt that the Black Flame Beast seemed to have become the lord of 10,000 demons, as if it had become the ruler of heaven and earth. With just a thought, it could destroy a large area of time and space. The Black Flame Beast's attack. It seemed to be able to destroy a huge life planet. The most frightening thing was that it was able to perfectly compress the power of such a powerful attack. This ability was really terrifying. Get lost. The existence in the ball of light curled his lips and slapped across the void. Bang! The Black Flame Beast's attack was broken in an instant. Then, an invisible force slammed into the Black Flame Beast's body. The Black Flame Beast fell into the 17 mountain peaks. The Black Flame Beast was severely injured. It was so scared that its whole body was trembling. It quickly escaped into the forest. The ball of light turned around and left. Junior Lin Feng, thanks Senior for saving my life. How should I address Senior? Lin Feng hurriedly said. Chapter 5197. After saying that, the ball of light quickly moved forward. In the blink of an eye, it was already very far away from Lin Feng. Lin Feng finally regained his senses. I'm also called Ji, Lin Feng said. Lin Feng felt somewhat apprehensive because his name was actually the same as the mysterious person's, although the name Ji was only Lin Feng's alias. However, Lin Feng had used his mother's family name to create this alias. It had an extraordinary meaning. The lone traveler who saved him was also called Ji. Perhaps it was fate in the unseen world. Lin Feng did not dare hesitate and hurriedly left. Lin Feng successfully flew out of Devil Ravine. When they saw Lin Feng, the cursed doll and little son hurriedly flew toward Lin Feng. Damn, you're really lucky. You actually managed to escape from Devil Ravine. The cursed doll exclaimed. Lin Feng was speechless. Were you hoping that I wouldn't be able to escape? The cursed doll said, Of course not. It's just that Devil Ravine is indeed very dangerous. I was worried about your safety. Now that you've escaped, I'm happy for you. Lin Feng did not dwell too much on this matter. He said, We can't stay here for too long. Let's leave quickly. The cursed doll said, It seems like you really found the corpse of the sea lady? Lin Feng nodded. Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and little son flew out of the ravine. After reaching the ocean outside, Lin Feng took off the stone robe. Lin Feng's mouth twitched violently when he saw the 3 cracks on the stone robe. The stone robe was rather badly damaged. He wondered if it could be repaired. However, even if it could be repaired, it would probably require some extremely special items to do so. Lin Feng put the stone robe away and said, Let's find a place to rest first. We'll see if we can find any clues from the corpse. Let's find a nearby island to stop at, the cursed doll said, following which, Lin Feng and the other two began searching for islands. There were quite a number of islands in this region. Islands of various sizes were scattered all over the place like stars in the sky. Lin Feng and the other two landed on a nameless island. They opened up a temporary cave residence. Then, Lin Feng summoned the corpse of the Sea Maiden. The corpse of the Sea Lady was immortal. Even though she had been dead for countless years, she was still as beautiful as ever. After seeing her face, the cursed doll couldn't help but exclaim, "I really didn't expect this woman to be so beautiful. She's even more beautiful than I imagined. Her face can even surpass many peerless fairies." The cursed doll's praise was not an exaggeration. The sea girl's face was indeed beautiful. The sea girl was a mermaid. Mermaids. They were a branch of mermaids, so mermaids were often extremely beautiful. However, they were different from ordinary mermaids. Mermaids were not born from the union of a man and a woman. Mermaids were born because they drank the holy spring water. They did not need to mate with a man to give birth to a child. Moreover, mermaids had always been hostile towards men. Therefore, mermaids. Naturally, they would not mate with a man. Of course, this wasn't absolute. There were always some unexpected things that could happen. As for the mermaid race, for example, the mermaid race that the sea girl belonged to, they could give birth to children through the union of a man and a woman. Lin Feng said, "She's a mermaid. Mermaids are very beautiful, so it's normal for her to be so beautiful." The cursed doll said, "Not all mermaids are extremely beautiful." "Oh, there's such a saying?" Lin Feng said in surprise. "Of course." The cursed doll nodded and said, "The saying that mermaids are very beautiful actually refers to the fact that the mermaids are extremely beautiful. However, the mermaids are often extremely ugly." "I see." Lin Feng could not help but nod. This kind of strange racial characteristic was very common in the world of cultivators. Therefore, Lin Feng was not surprised. How did her wound heal?" Lin Feng looked at the sea girl's chest in surprise. That was because that place had been pierced by a war spear. That was why there was a piercing wound in that place. But now, the wound had completely healed. It was too strange. If the sea girl was still alive, Lin Feng did not find it strange that her body was recovering so quickly. However, the key was that the sea girl had been dead for who knew how many years. Even if she was a cultivator from an undead family, if she had been dead for many years, his injury would not heal on its own. There must be a demon behind this abnormality. Therefore, Lin Feng felt that something was not right. Lin Feng said, "Previously, there was a wound on her chest, but now that wound is gone, there's such a thing?" The cursed doll could not help but reveal a surprised expression. "Big sister won't be resurrected, right?" Lil Sun looked at Lin Feng and asked. Lin Feng laughed bitterly and said, "I don't think so. If she wakes up, she will probably not be her anymore. She will probably be a Een corpse." Becoming a Een corpse was also a kind of new life. However, Een corpses were formed from dead cultivators, and dead people should not continue to exist. However, Een corpses still existed in the human world. This went against the laws of nature and the laws of heaven and earth. Therefore, Een corpses had to pay an extremely heavy price. For example, their body, soul, spirit, and other aspects would be tortured. It could be seen as a curse. They had to endure endless torture, living a life worse than death. Therefore, Een corpses' lives were often tragic. It doesn't seem like she will turn into a Een corpse, because there are no signs of it on her body. The cursed doll observed for a while and said, "Maybe we're overthinking it," Lin Feng said. Then, Lin Feng observed for a while and realized that there was still no movement from the sea girl's corpse. Lin Feng could only attribute the recovery of the sea girl's wound to her body's instinctive self-recovery. Otherwise, how could he explain it? The cursed doll's right hand was placed above the sea girl's abdomen, about 30 centimeters away. A special kind of energy surged out of the cursed doll's palm, and that special energy surged into the sea girl's dantian. The next moment, Lin Feng felt a violent energy fluctuation from the sea girl's dantian. Following that, a ball of holy light flew out from the sea girl's dantian. Within the holy light, it was wrapped in a jade-green crystal. What is this? Chapter 5198. The cursed doll held the green crystal in its hand and observed it for a while before saying, "This is a memory crystal." A memory crystal? Is that so? I've seen memory crystals before, but they don't look like this. Lin Feng frowned. The cursed doll said, "The memory crystal you saw is probably a low-level memory crystal. The highest level memory crystal is this kind of green crystal. You can input some important information into it and then hide the memory crystal in your body. There are many acupoints in the body. In addition, the dantian of a cultivator is mysterious. If you hide the memory crystal in some hidden acupoints or somewhere in the dantian, it will be very difficult for a cultivator to find the memory crystal." Lin Feng said, "If that's the case, this memory crystal was left behind by the sea goddess? That should be the case." The cursed doll nodded. Lin Feng said, "I wonder if there's any information about the sea god's palace inside? Who knows? Maybe there is, or maybe there isn't. We'll know once we check it," the cursed doll said. Then, his divine sense entered the memory crystal. "How is it?" Lin Feng asked. The cursed doll handed the memory crystal to Lin Feng. Lin Feng's divine sense also entered the memory crystal and heard a voice. "West Sea and South Sea. Sea God's ancient city. Billions of Oceanids believe in the sea god. Sea God's divine light shines upon the world." However, there was nothing else in the memory crystal. After that, there was no other content. And this paragraph actually sounded like a limerick. Lin Feng said it didn't say where the sea god's palace is, but it mentioned the West Sea, South Sea, and Sea God's ancient city. Perhaps the Sea God's palace is in Sea God's ancient city, and Sea God's ancient city is at the border between the West Sea and South Sea. That should be the case. What should we do next? Should we go to the border between the West Sea and South Sea? The cursed doll asked. Lin Feng thought about it and said, "All right, let's go there. But before that, let's go to Immortal Moon Island." "Why are we going there?" the cursed doll asked doubtfully. Lin Feng said, "Previously, a few friends came to the West Sea world to find the place where sacred ancestor Samsara passed away. They said that they would inform me if they found it. At that time, they already had some clues, so I estimate that it won't take them too long to find the place where sacred ancestor Samsara passed away. They still don't know that I've come to the West Sea world, so I plan to leak the news. Once they hear the news, they will definitely find a way to find me. That way, they won't have to send people to the capital of Sin to look for me." Holy shit. The place where sacred ancestor Samsara died. He's such a strong cultivator. You want to go there? I want to go too. The cursed doll squealed excitedly. Of course. However, let's first search for the ancient city of the sea god and wait for news from my friends, said Lin Feng. All right. The cursed doll quickly nodded. Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and Lil Sun returned to the Immortal Moon Island. Celestial Moon Island. It was as lively as ever. After arriving at the island, Lin Feng and the cursed doll kept a low profile. The all-seeing pavilion had an office on the Immortal Moon Island, so Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and Lil Sun went directly to the all-seeing pavilion's office. The all-seeing pavilion was the most well-informed, so asking them to help spread the news or find Dawish Qingshan and the others was definitely the best choice. An elder received Lin Feng's group. This elder's surname was Zhou, and he was a very kind person. After both parties were seated, Elder Zhou asked, "Young master, may I know what information you wish to gather?" Lin Feng asked, "Does the all-seeing pavilion have any information about Dawish Qingshan, Fairy Qian He, Lu Wuchen, and Old Man Ku Hai?" When he heard that Lin Feng was asking about the four great experts, Elder Zhou was slightly surprised. However, Elder Zhou was no ordinary person. He said, "Some time ago, the four great experts did enter the West Sea world." Lin Feng asked, "Where are they now?" Elder Zhou replied, "They stayed on the Immortal Moon Island for 3 days before disappearing. No one knows where they went, but I'm guessing that they might have gone to a few dangerous places in the West Sea world, such as the Lost Sky Sea, the Disorderly Burial Sea, and a few other sea regions. Those are all places where people rarely go. If they entered those places, they might be able to hide from the eyes of other cultivators." Lin Feng nodded and said, "I'll have to trouble the all-seeing pavilion to help me find out. If you can find any information about them, send someone to inform the four great experts that an old friend has arrived in the West Sea world ahead of time and is heading to the border between the West Sea and the South Sea. Tell them to wait for a while, or they can go to the border between the West Sea and the South Sea to search for them. If you can't find any information about the 4 great experts, the all-seeing pavilion will find someone to spread the news. I'm sure the 4 great experts will hear about it when the time comes. Elder Zhou was extremely shocked because he felt that this young man before him was not simple at all. He didn't know if this young man was helping to pass on a message, or if he himself was an old friend of the 4 great experts. If it was the former, it would be easier to explain, but if it was the latter, then it would be too shocking. Elder Zhou said, "The all-seeing pavilion will definitely do our best to help young master deal with this matter." After hearing Elder Zhou's promise, Lin Feng couldn't help but nod. Then, Lin Feng asked, "How much will it cost?" 1,000,000 immortal stones. Elder Zhou said. Lin Feng took out 1,000,000 immortal stones and handed them to Elder Zhou. Then, he left with the cursed doll and the small sun. They didn't rest on the immortal Moon Island. Instead, they headed straight for the border between the West Sea and the South Sea. Meanwhile, in a palace deep within the immortal Moon Island, a dragon cultivator, an absolute beauty, a cultivator with wings on his back, an evil cultivator in gray robes and a bamboo hat, and a tall and sturdy devil cultivator were all gathered together. "We must capture the son of the ancient Sun Emperor. I'm sure everyone knows how important he is," the absolute beauty said. The winged cultivator said, "The 2 people next to the son of the ancient Sun Emperor are very strong. It'll be very difficult to snatch the son of the ancient Sun Emperor from them. Even if the 5 of us work together, it'll still be difficult. We need to find other experts to act with us," the dragon cultivator said. The others frowned. The rest of the people frowned slightly. In fact, they did not want others to be involved in this matter. However, it seemed like there was no other way. As for the devil cultivator and the evil cultivator, they didn't know much about Lin Feng and the cursed doll, so they didn't say anything. "Who's more reliable?" the absolute beauty asked. "I can help you." Chapter 5199. Who is it? The 5 experts said in a deep voice. The other party was actually able to appear without a sound, which showed how powerful he was. Swish. With a flash of light, a cultivator appeared. He was very young. If Lin Feng was here, he would definitely recognize who this person was. Xiezi. It was actually him. Previously, the evil ancestors' orthodoxy had been taken by this person, including the stone pagoda, evil ancestors' pagoda. Of course, Lin Feng and the others had snatched a portion of the treasures. Xiezi was very powerful. His talent was heaven-defying, and his cultivation was heaven-defying. His luck was also incomparably strong. Such a person was destined to have a glorious life. "Who are you?" The beautiful cultivator coldly looked at Xiezi. The other 4 great cultivators also stood up and surrounded Xiezi. Each of them had a cold gaze. "Everyone, there's no need to be so hostile towards me, because I'm your friend, not your enemy," Xiezi said. "What a joke. When did we ever have a friend like you?" The winged cultivator sneered. "From now on, we do," Xiezi said. The winged cultivator's mouth couldn't help but twitch slightly. He coldly said, "I'd like to see how capable you are." As soon as he finished speaking, the winged cultivator slapped towards Xiezi. Xiezi waved his sleeve. An invisible force surged out. The cultivator with the wings on his back was actually forced to retreat. The winged cultivator's expression changed greatly. He naturally knew that Xiezi was powerful. Or else, it was also impossible for Xiezi to come here without making a sound, and even deceive everyone. Even the 5 great experts did not discover any traces of Xiezi. However, the winged cultivator didn't expect Xiezi to be so powerful. With a casual attack, he dispelled his attack and even suppressed him. This kind of strength was truly terrifying. The other 4 experts also had expressions of disbelief. Their strength was on par with that of the winged cultivator. The winged cultivator was suppressed. Didn't that mean, if they were to attack, they would also be suppressed greatly? Perhaps, even if the 5 experts joined forces, they wouldn't be a match for this person in front of them? That was very likely to happen. Xiezi said, "You're all people with great luck, and your cultivations are also very powerful. In the future, you'll have a chance to break through to the golden immortal realm. If you're lucky, you might even break through to the saint immortal realm. Hearing Xiezi say so, the 5 great powerhouses could not help being somewhat proud. No matter what era it was, even in the most dazzling eras, gold immortals and saint immortals were lofty existences. Xiezi continued, but times have changed. So what if they're golden immortals or sage immortals? When the end of the epoch arrives, it will still be difficult to escape death. During the end of the epoch, it will still be like an ant. Hearing Xiezi's words, the faces of the 5 powerhouses could not help but turn slightly pale. The end of an era. It was indeed a matter of despair. Many people didn't want to think about it. However, he had no choice but to face these things. With your strength, you won't be able to survive the end of the epoch. Therefore, you need to rely on a wise ruler. Xiezi continued, "Are you trying to get us to join you?" The Dragon Clan cultivator couldn't help but sneer. Although Xiezi was powerful, however, he wanted them to rely on Xiezi. This was also impossible. Not to rely on me. He's seeking refuge with my master. Xiezi said, "What? You have a master?" The faces of the 5 great powerhouses suddenly changed. Xiezi was already so powerful, then how powerful was Xiezi's master? Could it be a Saint Realm powerhouse? Was there such a powerhouse in the Undying Realm? There didn't seem to be one. This person was not a cultivator from the Undying Realm? You're a foreign cultivator? The Demon Dao cultivator asked. I came from the wasteland. Xiezi smiled slightly. Who is your master? The beautiful woman asked. Heaven exterminating ruler. Xiezi smiled and said, Hiss. Sounds of cold air being sucked in could be heard. The faces of the 5 great powerhouses were filled with incomparable shock. The wasteland. For them, it was very distant and very mysterious. It was a place they did not dare to imagine. As for the ruler of the wasteland, he was a legendary figure. The person in front of them was actually the disciple of the ruler of the wasteland. Really? Inconceivable. Xiezi's image immediately became tall and mighty. Why would a proud son of heaven like you come to a low-level world like the Undying Realm? The Dragon Dao cultivator asked. He could not understand Xiezi's purpose in doing so. Sect assessment. Xiezi said indifferently. After hearing Xiezi's words, the 5 great powerhouses immediately understood. It seemed that the ruler of the wasteland should not only have Xiezi as his disciple. If he wanted to achieve outstanding results among his fellow disciples, he would have to achieve something. The 5 great powerhouses did not know what kind of assessment the ruler of the wasteland had set. They were also very tactful and did not ask. They only knew, in front of them. A great opportunity was in front of them, to rely on this young master in front of them. In the future, limitless. Greetings, young master. The 5 great powerhouses bowed to Xiezi. The corner of Xiezi's mouth curled up into a faint smile. Then he said, You may rise. Not long after, Xiezi led the 5 great powerhouses and left Immortal Moon Island. Lin Feng was not very clear about Xiezi's matters. At this moment, the Xinyuan ancient star city was flying rapidly above the sea. Even at full speed, it took a full month and a half to reach the border between the South Sea and the West Sea. Although it was at the border, this sea was still extremely vast. If a godly realm cultivator wanted to fly across the border, it would take at least 100 years. Arriving here, Lin Feng's vision was blurry. As for how to find the ancient sea god city, Lin Feng was not particularly clear. He only had a limerick as a clue, but the clues provided by the limerick were very limited. Therefore, Lin Feng planned to find an island where cultivators gathered to stop for a while. Then, he would inquire about the ancient sea god city on the island. Perhaps, he might be able to inquire about the ancient sea god city. If he could find some information about the ancient sea god city, combined with the limerick, he might be able to find the ancient sea god city. Coiling Dragon Island. It was a huge island near the border between the West Sea and the South Sea. When the cultivators of the West Sea went to the border sea, they would often rest on Coiling Dragon Island. A large number of cultivators flew from all directions and then entered Coiling Dragon Island. Lin Feng put away the Xinyuan ancient star city. Chapter 5200. Lin Feng and the other two boarded the coiling dragon island. Brother, I'm hungry. Lil Sun looked pitifully at Lin Feng. During this period of time, Lil Sun had been eating spirit fruits to allay his hunger. Eating spirit fruits was good for cultivation, but Lil Sun was only a few years old after all. If adults ate spirit fruits every day, they would probably vomit. Not to mention a child like Lil Sun's age was the time when he was the most curious about the outside world. At the same time, it was also the time when he was the most gluttonous. Of course, he needed to eat something delicious. Looking at the little guy's aggrieved expression, one could tell how much Lil Sun wanted a good meal now. All right, let's go eat something delicious now. Lin Feng rubbed Lil Sun's head and said with a smile. Great, great. Lil Sun immediately clapped his hands in joy. In fact, there were very few people selling food in the world of cultivators. The stalls on the streets were basically selling all kinds of things related to cultivation. As for candied haws, sugar figurines, buns, and desserts, there were none. This was completely different from the secular world. There were many shops selling all kinds of snacks on the streets of the secular world. That kind of place attracted children. For example, candied haws, sugar figurines, and other sweet things were the most attractive to children. Lil Sun had never been to a city in the secular world, so he didn't know that there were so many delicious things in this world. The island was bustling with noise and excitement, with people coming and going. Many people who found good things in the sea would come to the island to sell them. Roar. In the distance, a loud dragon's roar could be heard. Then, more than a dozen giant dragons flew over quickly. Dragon Knights, look, it's the Dragon Knights. When they saw those giant dragons, many people couldn't help but exclaim. Those giant dragons were extremely terrifying, and their dragon's might was vast and mighty for 3,000 miles. It was so oppressive that countless people almost couldn't breathe. Many cultivators looked at the Dragon Knights in the sky in shock and horror. Those Dragon Knights were dressed in battle armor and held spears or swords in their hands. They were very heroic and extraordinary. They rode the giant dragons and quickly flew towards the depths of the island. Are they the Dragon Knights of the 10,000 Dragons sect? A cultivator said. It should be. Other than the 10,000 Dragons sect, no other forces have so many Dragon Knights. Someone replied. These Dragon Knights are incomparably terrifying existences. Coupled with the cooperation of the dragons, they can be described as heaven-defying. Generally, they act alone and rarely act together. Could it be that something big has happened? Why are there so many Dragon Knights here? Someone said. I'm not sure. Even if something big happened, it's not something that low-level cultivators like us can participate in. A cultivator said. While everyone was still talking about the Dragon Knights, suddenly, a bloody light surged in the distance. About 20 cultivators wearing bloody clothes quickly flew over from the bloody light. Bloodrobes guard, people from the Bloodrobes pavilion. At this moment, a cultivator exclaimed, a group of Dragon Knights just passed by, and now a group of blood-robed guards has appeared. I'm certain that something big has happened. A cultivator said. After the Bloodstrike guards left, many people started discussing the Dragon Knights and the Bloodstrike guards. Lin Feng, the Cursed Doll, and Little Sun found a restaurant that looked pretty good and ordered a table full of delicacies. Little Sun instantly turned into a foodie. He began to sweep through the food on the table. Lin Feng and the Cursed Doll chatted as they ate. Lin Feng asked, those Dragon Knights and blood-robed guards seem to have extraordinary backgrounds. Lin Feng only heard about the origins of the Dragon Knights and the blood-robed guards. The Dragon Knights came from the Myriad Dragon Island, while the blood-robed guards came from the blood-robed pavilion. However, Lin Feng didn't know what kind of forces these two forces were. The Cursed Doll said, the sea region between the South Sea and the West Sea is called the Sea God Sea region, because the Sea God's ancient city was located in this sea region. The Sea God Sea region is extremely large, and it is not smaller than the West Sea or the South Sea. Moreover, the Sea God Sea region is the most dangerous sea region in the Undying Realm. Because the Sea God Sea region is rich in resources, many powerful forces have been born here. The Myriad Dragon Island is one of them. They specialize in nurturing Dragon Knights, and when humans and dragons combine, their battle prowess will increase tremendously. The blood-robed pavilion is also one of them. I've heard that they specialize in strange techniques that seem to be related to bloodlines, which is why they are called the blood-robed pavilion. They are also a force that no one dares to provoke. The other three forces are the lunar sun island, the skyless pavilion, and the violet cloud grotto. They are also first-rate forces, and these overseas forces are even stronger than some of the top forces in the mainland. Apart from these 5 forces, there are many other forces. Although they can't compare to the 5 forces, they can't be underestimated either. Even the 5 forces don't dare to offend these forces. Lin Feng said, "So you're saying that the Sea God Sea region doesn't actually have an absolute ruler, but rather a place where heroes rule separately?" The cursed doll nodded and said, "That's right. This place is divided by heroes, so it's a bit chaotic." After a pause, the cursed doll continued, "Because it's a bit chaotic, things like murder and robbery happen every day. As a result, another occupation was born, and that's pirates. There are also many pirates here. Many pirate forces can't be underestimated either. However, it's said that some of the top forces have formed pirate groups. These pirate groups are just like real pirates, and they burn, kill, and pillage to make a fortune." Lin Feng said, "That's normal. After all, robbing is the fastest way to make a fortune." "That cheap father-in-law of yours is also a pirate, right?" the cursed doll asked. Lin Feng nodded with a wry smile. He naturally knew who the cursed doll was talking about. The cursed doll was talking about the heavenly wind god. Back in the day, he was the pirate king of the Tianwu continent. When Lin Feng saw Feng Yaorao, she had talked about her father with him. The heavenly wind god had been invited by Pirate King Arthur, one of the 9 great pirate kings of the Tianwu continent, to search for something. However, even Feng Yaorao didn't know what he was looking for. However, Feng Yaorao had a feeling that this thing was definitely extraordinary. Otherwise, her father wouldn't have kept it a secret from her. He didn't tell Feng Yaorao because he didn't trust her. Chapter 5201. The food here was not bad and had a lot of local specialties. It was rich in seafood, but not everyone could get used to eating seafood. Moreover, some people would be allergic to seafood. However, even if they couldn't eat seafood, they could still order other foods. Some of the delicacies on the continent could also be found here. After finishing the sumptuous meal, Lin Feng's group of 3 went to the all-knowing pavilion's office on Coiling Dragon Island. Lin Feng wanted to inquire about the ancient city in the deep sea. The all-knowing pavilion had the most powerful information network. Its offices could be found in every corner of the undying world. Lin Feng didn't know the origin of the all-knowing pavilion. However, the all-knowing pavilion's ability was indeed great. This was something that was very admirable. Not every force could reach the same level as the all-knowing pavilion. In the industry, they had a complete monopoly. The person who received Lin Feng's group was a beautiful woman. She looked to be in her 30s. Her face was very beautiful and charming. Her waist was very slender. When she walked, she swayed back and forth. There was an indescribable charm to her. Such a woman was naturally pleasing to men. However, Lin Feng was used to seeing all kinds of beauties. Therefore, although this woman was very beautiful, Lin Feng's eyes were still clear. The beautiful woman was slightly surprised. She didn't expect Lin Feng to turn a blind eye to her charm. After some introductions, Lin Feng found out that this woman was a deacon of the all-knowing pavilion on Coiling Dragon Island. Her name was Hishao. She had been working in the all-knowing pavilion for many years. In the beginning, she was a maid of the all-knowing pavilion. However, she was serious in her work. After many years of sincerity, she slowly climbed from the bottom to her current position. Being a deacon of the all-knowing pavilion was naturally nothing in Lin Feng's eyes. However, in the eyes of countless cultivators, it was a position that was very enviable. Generally speaking, the people of the all-knowing pavilion wouldn't ask about the origin of their guests. However, the beautiful woman saw that Lin Feng was young, handsome, and had an extraordinary bearing. Therefore, she asked about Lin Feng's origin. Lin Feng told her that his name was Ji and didn't say anything else. The beautiful woman then asked, "Young master, what information do you want to know?" Lin Feng didn't beat around the bush with the beautiful woman. Instead, he went straight to the point and asked, Does the all-knowing pavilion know anything about the ancient city of the sea god? Lin Feng asked. Ancient city of the sea god. The beautiful woman was slightly startled and said, Sir, do you know that the ancient city of the sea god is a taboo in the sea god's domain? You can't casually mention it. Why? Lin Feng asked in confusion. That's because many large factions have been searching for the sea god's city all these years. Apart from those large factions, anyone who dares to touch the sea god's city will be killed by those large factions. Many people have already died because of this. Lin Feng naturally knew which forces the beautiful woman was referring to. It was none other than the 5 great forces. However, Lin Feng didn't think that these major powers would be so ruthless and overbearing. Opportunities between heaven and earth. Anyone who was fated could obtain it. This included the ancient city of the sea god. As long as one was fated, one could naturally obtain these opportunities. No force could stop other forces or individuals from obtaining these opportunities. And yet, these large factions were doing just that. From this, one could see how overbearing they were. Lin Feng didn't care about the threats of the large factions in the sea god's domain. He continued, Fairy, please tell me everything you know about the ancient city of the sea god. The beautiful woman giggled and said, I'm not a fairy. You can call me Shower. Lin Feng smiled bitterly. Was this woman trying to seduce him? The beautiful woman continued, if you want to know, I can naturally tell you. However, please remember that when you're outside, try not to discuss the ancient city of the sea god as much as possible. All right, I'll keep that in mind. Lin Feng nodded. The ancient city of the sea god was an ancient city built when the sea god ruled the sea god's domain. It was once a holy land in the eyes of countless races and cultivators. It's said that the ancient city of the sea god contained countless treasures, enough to make people go crazy. Originally, the ancient city of the sea god's domain was floating in the sky, but because of a great battle, the sea god fell, and the ancient city of the sea god fell into the sea. It's said that the battle back then was extremely fierce. Countless people were affected by it, especially in the sea god's sea. Almost all the groups were destroyed. The current groups only appeared after that battle. When cultivators from other places arrived, they wanted to find the ancient city of the sea god, but they couldn't find it. Even though they couldn't find the ancient city of the sea god, they were pretty sure that the ancient city of the sea god is located in one of 3 seas. The first one is called the Star Moon Sea, the second one is called the Nine Saints Sea, and the third one is called the Mermaid Sea. The beautiful woman explained. Lin Feng asked curiously, what's so special about these 3 seas? Why do you say that the ancient city of the sea god is in one of these 3 seas? The beautiful woman replied, because there are often weeping sounds coming from these 3 seas. Some people say that the weeping sounds are coming from the ancient city of the sea god. Lin Feng frowned. He didn't know where this rumor had come from, but was it reliable? The cursed doll continued, I'm sure that many factions have gone to the 3 seas to search for the ancient city of the sea god. Have you found anything? The 3 seas are very dangerous, and many places are impossible to explore. That's why we haven't found the ancient city of the sea god yet, the beautiful woman said. The cursed doll continued, however, the other seas are also very dangerous, and there must be many places that are impossible to explore. We can't determine which of the 3 seas the ancient city of the sea god is in just based on the weeping sounds, right? I think that it's quite possible that the ancient city of the sea god is in the other seas. The beautiful woman said, the weeping sounds aren't simple. They aren't just weeping sounds. There are also some strange noises mixed in. Strange noises? Lin Feng and the cursed Owawa didn't understand. That's right. The beautiful woman nodded and continued. Some cultivators who understood the ancient language listened to the weeping sounds and deciphered the meaning of those strange noises. What do they mean? Lin Feng asked curiously. The beautiful woman replied, the glory of the sea god will once again descend upon the world. That's, Lin Feng's expression became uncertain. Were those people's interpretations correct? If their interpretation of the content was correct, then... Chapter 5202. After Lin Feng and the other 2 left the 100 Days Pavilion, they planned to find a place to stay. They found a few inns, but they were all full. It seemed that business was really good. Thus, they could only continue looking for a place to stay. At that moment, an earth-shattering commotion came from the depths of Coiling Dragon Island. Following that, a dozen cultivators soared into the sky and rushed out of Coiling Dragon Island. However, they did not manage to escape. Many blood-robed guards and dragon knights chased after them and fought with the cultivators. The blood-robed guards and dragon knights moved out at the same time. Who are those besieged cultivators? Some cultivators cried out in alarm. I don't know. Under normal circumstances, the blood-robed guards and dragon knights would not join forces. Now that they have joined forces, it seems that those besieged cultivators are not simple people. A cultivator then said, the commotion in the depths of Coiling Dragon Island was very big. So many cultivators were alarmed. They all came out and looked at the battle in the depths. The cursed doll said, I'm guessing that those people are fighting for benefits. Lin Feng rolled his eyes and said, damn, is there even a need to guess? People nowadays don't get up early if there are no benefits. If there are no benefits, who would participate in this? The cursed doll said, I'm a person who only cares about justice. I don't care about benefits. Brother, can you stop bragging? Before Lin Feng could say anything, some of the cultivators around them spoke up and looked at the cursed doll with disdain. Because the cursed doll was awesome. The cursed doll was bragging a little too much. The cursed doll smiled and did not say anything else. The battle in the depths of Coiling Dragon Island was very intense. Some of the besieged cultivators were killed, while others were captured. In the end, only one person managed to escape. That was too tragic. They were almost wiped out. The blood-robed guards and dragon knights really live up to their reputation. They are one of the strongest forces in the sea god's domain. The strength they have displayed is really shocking. Many people started discussing spiritedly. Lin Feng could not help but frown slightly. One person had actually managed to escape. Since the blood-robed guards and dragon knights had come prepared, they should not have allowed anyone to escape. But now, however, one person managed to escape. There was something fishy about this matter. Could it be? Did the Bloodstrike guards and dragon knights let those people go on purpose? Lin Feng felt that there might be such a possibility. They purposely let that person go so that he could bring the news back. The power behind that person might send cultivators to rescue him. When the time comes, then there were the people who came to save them. Catch them all in one fell swoop. Damn, they're really scheming. Lin Feng thought to himself. However, Lin Feng reckoned that the other party had already guessed the intentions of the Bloodstrike guards and dragon knights. Lin Feng didn't know if the other party had sent people to rescue the captured cultivators. This matter had nothing to do with him. Let's go, Lin Feng said. The cursed doll and little son nodded. Then, the three of them continued to look for a place to stay. Finally, the three of them found a place to stay. Furthermore, he had successfully rented a courtyard. Because they had spent a lot of time on the road, they were quite tired. Therefore, Lin Feng planned to rest on Coiling Dragon Island for a few days. After Lin Feng took a shower, he took little son to rest. The little guy liked to follow Lin Feng, so Lin Feng let him follow him for the time being. After washing up, little son went to bed. It was not very big. Little son fell asleep. Lin Feng was not in the mood to sleep. He stood outside the window and looked at the moon outside. His gaze was a little blurry, and no one knew what he was thinking. At this moment, Lin Feng seemed to have sensed something and looked behind him. Lin Feng immediately saw it. Balls of sunlight actually surged out from little son's dantian. The sunlight enveloped little son's entire body. This is? Lin Feng was shocked. Little son's body had actually undergone a mutation. Little son had been by Lin Feng's side for some time. However, this was the first time such a mutation had happened. When Lin Feng saw the changes in the little son, he was astonished. He could not help but feel very shocked. Lin Feng quickly walked in front of little son, and then he started to think. Previously, a sun had appeared in little son's body. That sun was very terrifying. It could be attacked. It could be defended. Its power was astonishing. However, little son was really too young. So little son could not freely control the sun that appeared in his body. In fact, Lin Feng was very curious about the sun that appeared in little son's body. What exactly was that sun? Dharma treasure? Something that appeared from the bloodline? Or was it something that the ancient Sun Emperor had left behind for Little Sun? Lin Feng did not know what was going on. Lin Feng had tried to explore it, but there was an invisible force that blocked Lin Feng's exploration. Now, Little Sun's body had undergone a mutation. Could he explore it? Lin Feng took a deep breath and tried to penetrate into the Little Sun's body with his godly awareness. Previously, Lin Feng's spiritual will had been blocked and could not enter. But this time, Lin Feng's spiritual will had successfully entered Little Sun's body. This made Lin Feng slightly happy. Lin Feng's spiritual will arrived at Little Sun's dantian. When it entered Little Sun's dantian, Lin Feng's face immediately revealed an extremely shocked expression. Because Little Sun's dantian had actually formed a world of its own? What's going on? Lin Feng could not help but feel extremely puzzled. Generally speaking, a cultivator's dantian was slowly opened up. As the dantian was continuously opened up, it would also become larger and larger. Slowly, the dantian could even evolve into a space. It could even be a world. But this required time. For example, Lin Feng's cultivation was already quite good, but Lin Feng's dantian was still in the form of a vast ocean. It could not be considered a separate space or world. But how old was Little Sun? His dantian had already turned into an independent world. Lin Feng thought of a certain possibility. Could it be that the ancient Sun Emperor had helped Little Sun open up his dantian? Lin Feng guessed that the ancient Sun Emperor back then was very likely a Sage Realm cultivator. He had transcended immortals and entered the Sage Realm. Cultivators of this realm indeed had terrifying means that outsiders did not know of. Therefore, if the ancient Sun Emperor wanted to help Little Sun transform his dantian with the ancient Sun Emperor's heaven-shaking ability, he could definitely do this. If it was not transformed by the ancient Sun Emperor, then it was very likely that he was born with it. If Little Sun's dantian was born with a world of its own. Chapter 5203. In this world, a sun hung above the 9 heavens, dazzling. Below, there were forests, lakes, rivers, deserts, plains, etc. Everything. It was all so beautiful. It was like an immortal country that people yearned for. After his divine sense sensed this world, Lin Feng's divine sense moved, and his original body entered this world. Lin Feng floated in the air. He looked at the sun above the 9 heavens. Lin Feng thought of the sun that appeared from the Little Sun's body. Was it related to the sun above the 9 heavens? Perhaps. He could go into the sun to explore. Of course, Lin Feng knew. That was definitely not the real sun. Lin Feng did not know what the sun body was for the time being. South Lin Feng did not stop and directly soared into the sky, quickly flying towards the sun. But Lin Feng found that when he flew towards the sun was flying quickly into the distance. The sun did not seem to want Lin Feng to get close. Damn! Don't run. Let's talk. Lin Feng shouted loudly. But the sun did not stop. Do you have a problem with me? Lin Feng asked loudly. The sun did not pay attention to Lin Feng. Instead, it continued to fly in front, trying to get rid of Lin Feng. The sun was very fast. If it was anyone else, they would have definitely been shaken off by the sun. But because Lin Feng's speed was too fast, it was very difficult for the sun to get rid of Lin Feng. But it was also very difficult for Lin Feng to catch up to the sun. Lin Feng could not help but think of the legendary Kwa Fu chasing the sun. Why did he look like Kwa Fu chasing the sun now? He did not want to become the legendary Kwa Fu. Because the legendary Kwa Fu was a tragic man. Who wanted to be a tragic man? Lin Feng increased his speed. But the sun was also accelerating. Both sides, one running and one chasing, were about the same distance. Lin Feng felt that it was not a good idea to continue chasing like this. Thus, he summoned his stone golem clone and the 2 evil god stone statues. This was because Lin Feng discovered that the sun had been circling this world. He had no choice but to beat around the bush, even though the small sun dantian had already formed a small world. However, after all, the area of a small world was limited. It was not boundless. Therefore, he had to go in circles in the small world. Without going in circles, they would soon reach the end of the world. When the time comes, he was about to be blocked by Lin Feng. Lin Feng had his stone golem avatar, and the two evil god statues surround the sun in the sky from another direction. Perhaps he could block it. Lin Feng continued to chase after the sun. After circling the area, Lin Feng saw the stone golem avatar and the evil god statue. The sun had clearly discovered the stone man's avatar and the evil god statue. Thus, the sun wanted to change direction and fly in another direction. But at this moment, the stone golem avatar and the two evil god statues separated and formed an encirclement with Lin Feng. They surrounded the sun. The sun could only force its way through. It seemed to have intelligence and locked onto one of the evil god statues. This was because among Lin Feng, the stone golem avatar, and the two evil god statues, the two evil god statues were the weakest. Of course, the weakest here was only relative. After all, the two evil god statues both had the strength of a true immortal. The sun fiercely collided with one of the evil god statues, but the sun clearly underestimated the strength of the evil god statues. The evil god statues attacked with all their might. They blocked the sun that collided with them. Lin Feng, the other evil god statue, and the stone golem avatar quickly flew over. Lin Feng didn't attack the sun. Instead, he said, "I don't have any evil intentions towards you. I'm just curious as to what caused the changes in the little sun's body." At this moment, a voice resounded in Lin Feng's mind. Companion Sunday, this voice was very young, and there were only 4 words, but they shocked Lin Feng. Concomitant refers to something that appears along with birth. In other words, it was innately born. For example, bloodline. It was something that was born with. Originally, Lin Feng thought that the little sun was a supreme treasure left behind by the ancient Sun Emperor. Or perhaps it was an ability that the little sun's bloodline had manifested. Or perhaps it was a special item that the ancient Sun Emperor had left behind for the little sun. But only now did he realize that his previous guess was wrong. It turned out that this was something that accompanied the little sun's birth. "What are you?" Lin Feng asked. "I am the rising sun." That very young voice resounded in Lin Feng's mind again. The rising sun? Could it be that the sun is still young? Lin Feng asked in surprise. "You can understand it that way." The voice continued. "Isn't the sun formed by the golden crow?" Lin Feng asked curiously. "That is indeed the case in the myths and legends, but in reality, the sun formed by the golden crow is just a fake sun. It is not the real sun. Although the sun formed by the golden crow with great magical powers is enough to pass off as the real one, a fake is a fake. How can it be compared to the real sun?" The voice said. Lin Feng thought about it and felt that it made sense. No matter how powerful the golden crow was, the sun formed by the golden crow was also a fake. No matter how similar the outer appearance was, but in essence, they were different. "Isn't there only one sun in the world?" Lin Feng asked. "There is indeed only one sun, but when the era is destroyed, a new sun will be born. The new sun will become the sun of the next era," the voice said. Hearing this, Lin Feng was shocked. If that was really the case, didn't that mean that the sun born from the little sun would become the sun of the next era? What kind of existence was the little sun? "Are you saying that you will become the sun of the next era?" Lin Feng asked. "Maybe, maybe not. I'm not sure," the voice said. "I'm not sure." "Why do you say that? Didn't you say that the new sun will become the sun of the next era?" Lin Feng asked doubtfully. "There isn't just one new sun. Perhaps there are many, but in the end, only one will survive. The rest will be destroyed." Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. He hadn't expected things to turn out this way. Lin Feng asked, "Where are the other new suns? Are they also in the bodies of cultivators?" Chapter 5204. Lin Feng asked, "Since you're inside Little Sun's body, will you harm him in any way?" The voice replied, "Of course not. I'm now his companion, and I can help him many times. We'll grow together, and in the future, I'll leave his body when I fight for the right to live with the other sons." Lin Feng nodded and said, "All right, I hope you remember what you said and don't harm Little Sunday." Lin Feng then put away the 2 statues and the stone golem clone. He didn't stay in the world inside Little Sun's Dantian. Lin Feng went outside. Little Sun was sleeping soundly. Perhaps this little guy didn't even know that a real son had been born inside his body. The next day, someone came to visit Lin Feng. To Lin Feng's surprise, it was the all-knowing pavilion's deacon, He Xiao. Lin Feng hadn't interacted much with this beautiful woman. I wonder what this beautiful woman is doing here. He Xiao bowed to Lin Feng and said, Young Master Ji, please forgive me for coming here so abruptly. Lin Feng said, It's my honor to have you here. Outside isn't a good place to talk, so please come inside. He Xiao followed Lin Feng into the guest hall, and both of them took their seats. Lin Feng then said, I didn't expect you to come here so suddenly. I apologize for my lack of preparation. He Xiao said, Young master, you don't have to be so polite. I came here because I have something to tell you. Oh, what is it? Lin Feng asked in surprise. He Xiao said, Last night, someone came to the all-knowing pavilion to sell a piece of information. What information? Lin Feng asked, puzzled. It's about the ancient city in the deep sea. He Xiao said. When he heard that, Lin Feng was shocked. Then, he was overjoyed. Although Lin Feng had heard some information about the ancient city, the three seas were filled with danger, and there were many places that were extremely dangerous. It was still extremely difficult to find the location of the ancient deep sea city. Now, if he could get some information about the ancient city in the deep sea, presumably, it would be of great help in finding the ancient city in the deep sea. I wonder what this news is about? Lin Feng asked. He Xiao replied, Someone saw a projection of a world in the Mermaid Sea. Within that world, there was a massive ancient city with the words Deep Sea Ancient City written on the city walls. What? There's such a thing? Lin Feng couldn't help but be shocked. If that was the case, didn't that mean that the ancient city in the deep sea was most likely in the Mermaid Sea? The Mermaid Sea region was a part of the Sea God Sea region. It was located in the southeast region of the Sea God Sea region. Cultivators didn't dare to set foot in this sea area. Of course, due to the abundance of extremely precious resources in the Mermaid Sea, there were still some cultivators who took the risk to enter the Mermaid Sea. Besides, the tears of the merfolk were extremely precious. Thus, some daring cultivators even dared to capture the merfolk and think of ways to make them cry. They collected the tears and sold them. The tears of the merfolk were the tears of the merfolk women, not the tears of the merfolk men. The tears of the merfolk women were rare treasures. Many top-grade immortal pills required the tears of the merfolk women. However, the tears of the merfolk men were extremely poisonous and couldn't be touched. Did that person obtain anything? Lin Feng couldn't help but ask. I'm not too sure. He Xiao replied. Did he leave Coiling Dragon Island? Lin Feng asked. He didn't leave. After that person sold the information to us, he exchanged it for a large amount of immortal stones. Then, he went to the fairy brothel to seek pleasure. It's said that he singled out more than 20 beauties. He Xiao said. Lin Feng said, Thank you for telling me this, fairy. Lin Feng waved his hand, and 2 rivers of immortal stones flew out. Each river was made up of 1,000,000 immortal stones. Lin Feng said, 1,000,000 of them is for buying the information from the all-knowing pavilion, and the other is for fairy's hard work. He Xiao only accepted the 1,000,000. She said, I'll accept the 1,000,000 from the all-knowing pavilion, but I can't accept the one from young master. We're friends, so it's only natural for me to tell young master this information as soon as possible. He Xiao clearly wanted to deepen her relationship with Lin Feng. Lin Feng smiled and didn't refute He Xiao's claim that they were friends. Lin Feng put the immortal stones away. Lin Feng said. He then said, I'll go and see that person now. Fairy, can you help me identify him? Don't worry, you don't have to show yourself when the time comes. You can just tell me his identity in secret. Of course. He Xiao smiled. The cursed doll was cultivating, and the small son's body was still mutating, so Lin Feng didn't disturb them. Lin Feng and He Xiao left the residence together. Then, they went straight to the fairy brothel. The fairy brothel was one of the most famous brothels on Coiling Dragon Island. It was also one of the most high-end brothels. Here, one could find charming fox girls, sexy and enchanting snake girls, pure and shy clam girls, and so on. There were many beauties here. As long as you had money, you could choose whatever you wanted. Lin Feng and He Xiao had just arrived when they heard a scream coming from the third floor. Someone's dead. Someone's dead. Someone's been killed. After the scream, a group of women with disheveled clothes and pale faces hurriedly ran out. Pooh, pooh, pooh. But at that moment, sword chi vibrated out. It directly pierced through the women's bodies. Those women all died tragically. What a good way to silence people. Not only were the guests inside killed, even the women who served this person were killed. This kind of method was really ruthless. Lin Feng felt that something was wrong, so he quickly flew to the room where the dead people were. He Xiao followed closely behind. Lin Feng entered the room and found a cultivator lying in the room. His head had been chopped off. Many people were pointing at him in the room. It's him, He Xiao said. He Xiao said, we're too late. Lin Feng couldn't help but frown. More and more people arrived. Even the boss of the fairy brothel came out. After all, more than 20 women had died in the fairy brothel, and they had all been carefully nurtured. This time, the fairy brothel had suffered a great loss. He left with He Xiao. Who could it be that wants to kill him? He Xiao was puzzled. This person must have obtained something about the ancient deep-sea city from that place, which is why he was killed, Lin Feng said. But earlier, he said that he only sold the information to our all-knowing pavilion, and that no one else knew about it. Could it be that the other overseers and elders of the all-knowing pavilion sold the information to someone else, and that person immediately came to kill that person and took away his items? Chapter 5205. The possibility of what He Xiao had said was very high. Lin Feng asked, how many people from the all-seeing pavilion know about this? He Xiao smiled bitterly and said, about 20. Lin Feng sighed. With so many people, it was very difficult to find out who had sold the information. Even if they could find out, it would be impossible to find all the people who had bought the information. Who knew where the other party had run off to? Lin Feng felt that it was a pity. He could have obtained something related to the ancient city in the deep sea, but now it had been taken by someone else. However, this was how things worked in the world. How could everything go according to plan? Therefore, Lin Feng was more open-minded and quickly adjusted his emotions. Lin Feng said, thank you for accompanying me. I'm sure you have many things to take care of, so I won't disturb you any further. He Xiao said, I'm resting today, so there's nothing else. Hearing He Xiao's words, Lin Feng felt that it would be inappropriate for him to leave now. After all, He Xiao had already said that there was nothing else. Lin Feng naturally couldn't leave He Xiao behind and leave by himself. He Xiao continued, Sir, are you going to the Mermaid Sea next? I'm planning to. I'll probably set off after resting on Coiling Dragon Island for a few days. Lin Feng said, that's fine too. He Xiao nodded and said, however, there are some things you need to prepare before heading to the Mermaid Sea. Prepare what? Lin Feng asked in surprise. You need to prepare a special insect repellent grass because the Mermaid Sea isn't a simple place. It has one of the most terrifying groups of insects in the sea. Those poisonous insects are called golden-shelled insects, and they cover the sky and cover the earth. Cultivators who encounter them will almost certainly die. The special insect repellent grass I'm talking about is especially effective against golden-shelled insects. If you carry it with you, the golden-shelled insects won't easily approach you. He Xiao explained. Golden-shelled insects? Lin Feng was surprised. This was the first time he had heard of such a poisonous insect. However, there were many poisonous insects in the world. Of course, Lin Feng didn't know all the poisonous insects. Lin Feng asked, is there anything special about golden-shelled insects? He Xiao said, the most special thing about golden-shelled insects is that their venom is very special. Depending on the type of insect, the venom will cause different damage to the body. Most of the venom will harm the internal organs of cultivators, causing them to quickly necrotize due to the corrosion of the venom. There is also a part of the venom that is very harmful to the blood. These two types of venom account for more than 95% of the venom. The venom of a golden-shelled insect doesn't belong to those two types of venom. The venom of a golden-shelled insect is an extremely rare type of venom. This kind of venom can directly harm a cultivator's soul. Once a cultivator's soul is poisoned, they won't be able to think, and they won't be able to issue any orders to their body. When the time comes, they won't even have the chance to resist. They'll quickly die. I see. Lin Feng couldn't help but nod. He had a better understanding of all kinds of venoms. Poison that could harm one's soul. It was indeed an extremely rare type of venom. Lin Feng then asked, Fairy, what is the insect-repellent grass you're talking about called? He Xiao said, that insect-repellent grass is called stink grass because it emits an extremely unpleasant stench. However, stink grass is extremely rare, so it's very difficult to buy it. Usually, even if there really is a resource like stink grass, the seller won't easily sell it to strangers. Basically, they only sell it to regular customers. Lin Feng asked, Fairy, can you get your hands on it? We'll have to go and take a look because I don't know if that place still has stink grass, but I'll do my best to help you get some, He Xiao said. All right, Lin Feng said. All right, let's go take a look. He Xiao nodded and led Lin Feng to the place where stink grass was sold. On Coiling Dragon Island, there was only one merchant that sold stink grass. It was the Coiling Dragon Merchant Association. The power behind the Coiling Dragon Merchant Association was the Long family. The Long family was the governor's family on Coiling Dragon Island. It was said that they also had the bloodline of the dragon race, and they were a powerful power with a long history. When they arrived at the Coiling Dragon Merchant Association, a maidservant welcomed them and bowed to Lin Feng and He Xiao. He Xiao said, I'd like to see your vice president. The maidservant obviously knew He Xiao. She quickly replied, yes. First, she led Lin Feng and He Xiao to a guest hall to wait. Then, she went to look for the vice president. A maidservant served Lin Feng and He Xiao tea. Not long after, a rather young female cultivator arrived. This female cultivator was rather tall, about 1.8 meters tall. Moreover, she wasn't a bony beauty. Instead, she was a rather voluptuous woman, Caucasian. When Lin Feng saw that woman, he thought, what a beautiful woman. This woman was indeed a Caucasian beauty. Her figure was voluptuous and sexy, and her face was beautiful. However, her height gave people a heavy feeling of oppression. Ordinary men wouldn't be able to subdue such a woman. Clearly, this woman was the vice president of the Coiling Dragon Merchant Association. She wasn't very old, but to be able to become the vice president of the Coiling Dragon Merchant Association meant that she had a very deep background. Lin Feng guessed that this woman was from the Long family. What brings you here, big sister? The woman said with a smile. It seemed that she was rather familiar with He Xiao. Otherwise, she wouldn't have used the word big sister to describe He Xiao. As the deacon of the all-knowing pavilion, He Xiao had a lot of important information. Therefore, she was indeed quite popular. Everyone had to give her face. He Xiao smiled and said, I missed you, so I came to see you. The woman smiled and said, Thank you for your concern, big sister. I've been quite busy recently and haven't had much time to rest. Otherwise, I would have gone to the all-knowing pavilion to find you. We sisters haven't met in a long time. When you have time, we can meet anytime, anywhere. He Xiao smiled and said. The woman glanced at Lin Feng and said with a smile, Big sister, why did you bring such a young and handsome gentleman here? Could this young master be big sister's lover? Hearing this, He Xiao secretly glanced at Lin Feng and blushed slightly. Cough, cough. Lin Feng coughed dryly and said, This one is called Ji. I'm He Xiao's friend. Friend? Are you really just friends? Chapter 5206. We're really just friends, He Xiao said. Of course, she was telling the truth. However, in the woman's ears, it sounded like it could be covered up. The reason why the woman suspected Lin Feng and He Xiao was not without reason, because He Xiao had always been clean all these years. With her conditions, there were naturally countless suitors, but He Xiao had never agreed to anyone's pursuit. So, he had always been alone. Now, suddenly bringing a young and handsome young master like Lin Feng. If the two of them did not have a close relationship, the woman would not believe it. So now, no matter what He Xiao said, from the woman's point of view, the more she tried to explain, the worse it would get. The woman smiled and said, All right, all right, all right. I believe that you two are pure. Although she said that she believed it, however, the expression on her face clearly showed that she did not believe it. Lin Feng could only laugh bitterly in his heart. Others had already made the first impression. It was not easy to change other people's minds, so Lin Feng did not explain any further. Sometimes, an explanation was a cover-up, especially when the other party had already guessed the reason. No matter how he explained, the other party would probably not believe him anymore. Lin Feng looked at He Xiao and said, "Fairy He, I have yet to introduce this beautiful woman in front of me. How should I address her?" He Xiao smiled and said, "This little sister is not a simple person. She is a direct descendant of the island master's family. Her name is Long Yuedong, and she is currently the first vice president of the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce. Generally speaking, a large chamber of commerce would have a president and several vice presidents. The difference in power between these vice presidents was huge. The position of the first vice president was naturally the highest. Lin Feng already knew that Long Yuedong was the vice president of the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce. Now that He Xiao had emphasized Long Yuedong's identity as the first vice president, it was obvious that she was reminding Lin Feng of how extraordinary Long Yuedong's identity was. Lin Feng only smiled at this. In the eyes of countless people, the identity of the first vice president of the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce was naturally high and mighty. Countless people would want to curry favor with him. But in Lin Feng's eyes, not to mention a mere vice president, even the power behind the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce, the Long family, in Lin Feng's eyes, was nothing. Long Yuedong smiled and said, "Everyone, please take a seat. Don't be courteous and treat this as your own home." Both parties sat down. He Xiao smiled as she replied, "Apart from visiting my little sister, there's also something else." "Sister, feel free to speak," Long Yuedong said with a smile. He Xiao and Long Yuedong were closer. Therefore, he did not beat around the bush. Instead, he directly said, "I need some stink grass. Do you have any more of it here?" Long Yuedong said, "Sister, you came at a bad time. The last few stalks of stink grass were bought by someone 3 months ago. When will the new stink grass arrive?" He Xiao asked. "We'll probably have to wait for another week or so," Long Yuedong said. The stinky grass was a rare commodity, and only the Long family knew where it was. Furthermore, although the Long family knew where the stink grass was, because that place was incomparably dangerous, picking the stink grass was an extremely dangerous thing to do. Therefore, the amount of stink grass harvested each time was very little. Sometimes, he would enter the danger zone several times to pick the stink grass, but he would not gain anything. However, this time, Long Yuedong said that the stink grass would arrive in about a week. It seemed that the Long family had successfully picked the stink grass this time. "Young master, can we wait for a week?" He Xiao looked at Lin Feng. Since the stink grass was extremely important, waiting for a week was naturally not a problem. Lin Feng said, "No problem." He Xiao nodded, looked at Long Yuedong and said, "Little sister, although there are definitely many people who want the stink grass, little sister will definitely leave some for young Master Ji. Of course, elder sister can rest assured on this point," Long Yuedong said with a smile. Both sides chatted for a while. As Long Yuedong still had many things to take care of, Lin Feng and He Xiao bid farewell and left. Connections are really important. It's easier to do things with people, Lin Feng said with a smile. He Xiao was clearly in a good mood. She said, "Yes, connections are really important now. Although Long Yuedong is of noble birth, her personality is extremely good. Since she said that she would leave some stink grass for young master, she will definitely do so. If you don't have the stink grass, you definitely can't go to the Mermaid Sea. Many people don't know what to pay attention to when going to the Mermaid Sea. Of course, some people know that you need to bring the stink grass to the Mermaid Sea, but they can't buy it." Lin Feng said, "It was all thanks to your help that we were able to obtain the stink grass this time. In the future, if you have any problems, you must come and find me. As long as I can help, I definitely won't refuse." He Xiao said, "All right, when the time comes, I won't be courteous with you." Lin Feng said, "I'm not a cultivator from the Mermaid Sea. I'm just passing by, so if you want to find me in the future, you'll have to go to Sin City to find me." He Xiao was slightly stunned. Then, he felt relieved. Actually, He Xiao did not investigate Lin Feng's true identity, but Lin Feng was a human cultivator. Right now, The stronger human cultivators were basically all in the Sin domain. So, Lin Feng was also a Sin domain cultivator. Naturally, this was an extremely normal thing. He Xiao said, "It's still early. Does young master have anything else to do?" "I don't have anything else," Lin Feng said. "Why don't you follow me to a place?" He Xiao said. "Sure." Lin Feng nodded. He Xiao brought Lin Feng to a mountain peak in the northwest of Coiling Dragon Island. This mountain peak was called the Sea God Mountain. On top of the Sea God Mountain, there was a huge temple called the Sea God Temple. It was a place to worship the sea god. There were quite a few people who came here to pray. This time, He Xiao was also here to pray. The sea god has already been dead for countless years. Are there still so many people who believe in him? Lin Feng said in surprise. Yes, even if the sea god is dead, no one will forget the sea god. The sea god is a supreme existence in the hearts of countless cultivators in the sea. He Xiao said, and Lin Feng nodded. Everyone. They all had their own beliefs. He Xiao believed in the sea god, just like those people in the secular world who believed in themselves. Faith was a kind of reliance in many people's hearts when they encountered difficulties or setbacks. Chapter 5207. The Sea God Temple was huge. The main hall was dedicated to the sea god. In many of the side halls, other gods were worshipped. For example, one of the halls was dedicated to the West Sea Dragon King, while another hall was dedicated to the South Sea Dragon King. These two Dragon Kings were the first Dragon Kings of the era of titled gods. However, they were not the current Dragon Kings. The Dragon King of the West Sea and the Dragon King of the South Sea were no longer titled gods. Compared to the Dragon Kings of the West Sea and South Sea during the era of titled gods, they were worlds apart. He Xiao entered the Sea God Temple to offer incense. Lin Feng thought for a moment, then followed He Xiao to offer incense. He Xiao asked in surprise, "Do you believe in the sea god?" Lin Feng shook his head and said, "Of course not. However, I'm about to head to the Mermaid Islands to find the sea god's ancient city, so I have to pray to the sea god. I hope that the sea god will bless me and help me find the ancient city." He Xiao chuckled and said, "A sincere heart will naturally work. I believe that you will definitely be able to find the ancient city." The two of them prayed to the sea god. After offering incense to the sea god, they walked down the mountain. In the evening, the two of them found a place to have a meal. They spent the day together with He Xiao. Lin Feng felt that He Xiao was quite a nice person. She was considerate and gentle, had a voluptuous and sexy figure, and was also very beautiful. By the time they finished eating, it was already late in the evening. Coiling Dragon Island was still very lively. Even at night, there were still people coming and going. "Where do you live, goddess? I'll send you back," Lin Feng asked. "I live near the all-knowing pavilion," He Xiao replied. The all-knowing pavilion also provided lodging. However, for someone of He Xiao's status, there was no need for her to live in the pavilion's dormitory. This was because there were many people living in the pavilion's dormitory. As a deacon, He Xiao could have her own room, but there were too many people in the dormitory. There were also many things to do. Thus, He Xiao moved out and rented a courtyard not far from the all-knowing pavilion. The environment was not bad, and it was relatively quiet. It was many times better than living in the dormitory. Lin Feng and He Xiao chatted as they walked towards He Xiao's residence. Not long after, they arrived at He Xiao's residence. "Do you want to go in and have some tea? I also have some rare spirit teas that you might like," He Xiao said with a red face. It was late at night. A sexy and hot beauty invited him to her house for tea. Such a request. If it was any other man, they probably wouldn't refuse, right? There was a saying, "Don't let down the beauty and youth of a beautiful woman." What was youth? It meant that he was in the prime of his life, putting the beauty and youth together. Moreover, the beauty was still in front of Feng Hua. Clearly, a beautiful woman was so important. There was an invitation from a beauty. How could he refuse? Therefore, Lin Feng nodded and agreed. When He Xiao saw that Lin Feng had agreed, she smiled. Lin Feng followed He Xiao into the courtyard. The courtyard wasn't particularly big, but it was very clean. There were rockery and strange rocks scattered around. There were also two ponds on both sides of the living room. Lotus flowers were planted in the ponds. Now that the lotus flowers were in full bloom, it was magnificent. In the pool, at the same time, there were many fish. Basically, they were all fish with higher ornamental value. Walking around the hall was the backyard. The backyard was where He Xiao rested. Lin Feng followed He Xiao to the backyard. In the courtyard where He Xiao lived, there were stone tables, stone stools, and a crooked tree. In the past, Lin Feng had heard that in the secular world, a dynasty had been destroyed. The last emperor of that dynasty had hung himself on a crooked tree, and then his life had ended. Lin Feng wondered if that tree was similar to the one Lin Feng was looking at. Lin Feng did not enter He Xiao's room. A woman's room was a woman's secret. Lin Feng naturally would not casually enter it. However, Lin Feng felt that, if he entered, He Xiao might not refuse. Lin Feng sat on the stone bench. He Xiao took out the stove, the tea set, and then boiled the spirit spring water. Top-grade spirit tea. It needed to be soaked in spirit spring water, or else it would destroy the taste of the spirit tea. Today's moon is really round, Lin Feng said. Today is the 15th of August, He Xiao said. Lin Feng softly recited, alone in a foreign land. I miss my family more on every festive day. Knowing that my brothers have climbed to a high place, I have planted dogwood everywhere. The meaning of this poem was that it was inevitable that it would be a little desolate to be alone and far away from home. Every time it was the double ninth festival, he would miss his distant relatives. Thinking of my brothers wearing dogwood and climbing to a high place, I would feel regretful because I was missing. This poem expressed some of the truest thoughts in Lin Feng's heart. All these years, it really wasn't easy outside. However, Lin Feng had to persevere. When He Xiao heard Lin Feng's poem, she was actually infatuated. She said, "Young master is really talented. It can't be considered a good literary talent. I've only read a few books and can write some unrefined things." He Xiao said, "Young master is too modest." Then she continued, "This year's full moon night is different from previous years, because this year, young master has a beautiful woman by his side." The beautiful woman that He Xiao was talking about was naturally herself. She wasn't modest at all. However, there didn't seem to be a need to be modest with He Xiao's appearance, because He Xiao was indeed of the highest quality. Even though Lin Feng had come into contact with many outstanding women, he couldn't help but feel that He Xiao was a very likable woman. Lin Feng laughed and said, "Yes, to be able to have a fairy accompany me, it is indeed a different full moon night. I believe I will always remember it in my heart." When He Xiao heard Lin Feng's words, she was extremely happy. She said, "The bright moon is so moving. Why don't young master use the bright moon to write a poem?" Lin Feng thought for a moment, then recited, "The bright moonlight in the courtyard is suspected of being frost on the ground. Looking up at the bright moon, looking down at the lady." After hearing Lin Feng's crooked poem, He Xiao couldn't help but laugh. However, thinking about it carefully, this poem seemed to have the intention of teasing her. Could it be? Young Master Ji to himself. Did he have a good impression of him? Thinking of this, He Xiao was immediately overjoyed. Young Master sometimes acts like a gentleman, but sometimes he acts like a scoundrel, He Xiao said. Lin Feng leaned on her and said, "This is me, living a carefree life, never restraining my heart." He Xiao looked at Lin Feng in a daze. Lin Feng was indeed such a person full of mystery. She was attracted to him. Was it also because... Chapter 5208. After leaving He Xiao's place, Lin Feng walked alone on the street. Lin Feng felt that if he didn't leave, he might be able to sleep with He Xiao in his arms tonight. However, who told Lin Feng to be a decent person? Therefore, Lin Feng estimated that it was about time and took the initiative to leave. There were still many cultivators on the street. At night, there were also many people setting up street stalls. Lin Feng even saw some beggars. These beggars didn't want the gold and silver of the secular world. What they wanted was immortal stones. These beggars were also keeping up with the times. In fact, there were many beggars in the world of cultivators. These people, they were usually the lazy kind of cultivators. Therefore, they were unwilling to go out to find a living. In fact, Some beggars had quite good cultivation. If they went out to find some treasures to sell, they would probably be able to live quite comfortably. It was just that those people would rather sleep. They weren't willing to use their own hands to create a good life. Lin Feng walked on the street, thinking about the various things he had experienced over the years and the many people who appeared in his life, including his enemies, friends, women, and so on. He couldn't help but feel a little emotional. Perhaps the future path would be more difficult. But so what? Lin Feng believed that with his own means, he would definitely be able to climb to the peak. Perhaps he would be able to find his father in the future. Then he would fight side by side with his father. Lin Feng was looking forward to this scene. Father and son fighting side by side, together with all the cultivators in the world, against the Doomsday Battle. Perhaps they could successfully resist the Doomsday Battle, right? Back at his residence, the cursed doll was still in seclusion. The little sun was still mutating. The sunlight enveloped his body. The sunlight was getting hotter and hotter. Lin Feng couldn't help but think of the 5 powerhouses besieging the little sun. Could it be that 5 powerhouses? Actually, did they know that there was a rising sun in the little sun's body? Perhaps there was such a possibility. How important was the rising sun? If he could get it, that would be awesome. The little sun was still young and couldn't protect the rising sun. This was a great opportunity to snatch the rising sun. If he missed this opportunity, when the time comes, he was afraid that he would never have another chance. Therefore, in order to snatch the rising sun from the little sun's body, these people would resort to any means necessary. The cursed doll came out of seclusion the next day. According to this fellow, he had an epiphany while he was sleeping. Then, the cursed doll kept bragging about how heaven-defying its talent was. Lin Feng's ears were about to grow calluses. Lin Feng pulled the cursed doll into his room. After seeing little sun being enveloped by the sunlight, the cursed doll asked in confusion, "What's going on?" Lin Feng said, "The little sun has a companion sun in its body. Now that its body is mutating, perhaps it's because its body is adapting to the power of that rising sun." After hearing Lin Feng's words, the cursed doll's mouth couldn't help but twitch violently. Previously, it was still bragging about how great its talent was, but now that it knew about little sun's situation, it was instantly envious and jealous. Although the cursed doll's talent was strong, compared to little sun, there was still a big gap. Little sun's talent was something that even Lin Feng was amazed by. After all, there was a companion sun in little sun's body. This was an opportunity that couldn't be envied. This kid's ancestor has accumulated good karma, the cursed doll said. Lin Feng said, "You don't say. Little sun's ancestor has really accumulated good karma, because I've heard some things about the ancient Sun Emperor. It's said that that era was very turbulent and chaotic. It was one of the dark and turbulent eras. After the ancient Sun Emperor rose to power, he fought bloody battles in the universe and suppressed the turmoil at that time." The cursed doll nodded and said, "There is indeed such a thing. That's why I say that this kid is very lucky to have a good father. I can't be envious of him." Lin Feng said, "Although this is a world where one's father is important, the times create heroes. Even if one doesn't rely on one's father, there are still many people who can rise up." Little Sun woke up 2 days later. When he woke up, he seemed a little tired, and his stomach kept growling. When he opened his eyes and saw Lin Feng, the first thing he said was, "Brother, I'm hungry." Then, Lin Feng ordered a full Manchu Han imperial feast for Little Sunday. There were 172 dishes, but Little Sun finished them like a whirlwind. "Damn, are you a pig? Are you the reincarnation of a pig demon?" The cursed doll immediately shouted. Lin Feng slapped the cursed doll away, then scolded, "You really can't say anything good from your filthy mouth. Am I wrong? How old is this child? How can he eat so much?" The cursed doll said with a pout. Little Sun had indeed eaten too much. However, Lin Feng reckoned that it had something to do with the previous mutation. After all that mutation, it consumed a lot of energy. After the mutation ended, one's body would be very tired. Now, Little Sun needed to replenish a lot of energy. "I'm not a pig," Little Sun said angrily, obviously extremely dissatisfied with the cursed doll, saying that he was the reincarnation of a pig demon. Little Sun then looked at Lin Feng. Then, he rubbed his stomach and said, "Brother, I'm still hungry." Lin Feng looked at the cursed doll and said, "Go to the front and order another Manchu Han imperial feast." The cursed doll said, "All right, I'll go now." Little Sun was really high today. He ordered a total of 3 meals. This little guy was just full. After he finished eating, he even burped. Then, the little guy became sleepy again. If this child was placed in an ordinary family, wouldn't his family be poor? It's said that the poor can't raise more children. How much does it cost to raise a child? I really can't afford to raise it. The cursed doll couldn't help but sigh. However, what the cursed doll said made sense. Raising a child was really too expensive. Many families probably couldn't afford to raise more than a few children. In the next few days, Lin Feng also went into seclusion to comprehend some powerful sacred art. Time passed very quickly. In the blink of an eye, a week had passed. He Xiao once again came to Lin Feng's place. After not seeing He Xiao for a week, he was still stunned when he saw her again. He Xiao was like a ripe peach. Her beauty, it was a mature and charming beauty that flowed out from her bones. This kind of beauty was full of temptation. Chapter 5209. Isn't this the fairy from the all-knowing pavilion? What brings you here? The cursed doll said with a smile when it saw He Xiao. The last time He Xiao had come, he had been in seclusion. Therefore, he did not know that He Xiao had come to find Lin Feng. Lin Feng did not discuss this matter with the cursed doll either. Said Lin Feng, "Shut up, you little bastard." Then, Lin Feng sent the cursed doll flying with a slap. He then looked at He Xiao and said, "Fairy, please come in." The cursed doll was speechless. "Little Feng, you're so inhumane. I misjudged you," said Lin Feng. "You're too talkative. Go away and stay where you are." "I'm not going. I want to see what you two are up to. Don't tell me you've been together for a long time. Should little Sun and I move out? We don't want to disturb you two." The cursed doll entered the hall. He Xiao blushed slightly and said, "Young Master Ji and I are just friends." "It's not what you're saying." Lin Feng looked at the cursed doll speechlessly and said, "Did you hear that? Don't talk nonsense. I'm fine with this, but it'll affect Fairy He's reputation. You should know that rumors are fiercer than tigers. I don't think I need to say more, right?" The cursed doll smiled and said, "I think the two of you are quite compatible. Why don't you be together?" When she heard this, He Xiao sneaked a glance at Lin Feng, and her face turned even redder. The cursed doll looked at He Xiao and said, "My big brother's ancestor is very awesome, and he's very capable. His only flaw is that he likes beautiful women, so he likes to flirt. If you don't mind this, you can really follow my big brother." Lin Feng suddenly had the urge to hammer the cursed doll to death. Was the cursed doll exposing his past? What he did was not flirting. It was called universal love, okay? He Xiao said, "For an outstanding man like young Master Ji, it's only right for him to have a few more women to serve him." The cursed doll rolled its eyes when it heard He Xiao's words. Then, he looked at Lin Feng and said, "Damn, you really found a treasure, didn't you?" Lin Feng couldn't help but smile bitterly. Could it be that He Xiao's courage had grown after that night? She had failed? He was hinting at her by saying something overtly and covertly. The man was too outstanding. Sometimes it was a mistake. Lin Feng did not dwell on the topic. With the cursed doll around, it was best not to talk about it. Lin Feng asked, "Fairy, are you here to retrieve the stink grass?" He Xiao nodded and said, "That's right. Not long ago, Sister Yutong sent someone to inform me that the stink grass has arrived. We can go and get it now." "Yes." Lin Feng nodded. He looked at the cursed doll and said, "Stay here and watch the little Sun. I'm going out for a bit." The cursed doll smiled and said, "No problem. You don't have to come back so early. You can spend the night outside too." After hearing the cursed doll's words, He Xiao's pretty face turned so red that it was as if blood was about to drip out. She didn't dare to stay here any longer. If he stayed any longer, who knew what the cursed doll would say? Lin Feng couldn't be bothered to deal with the cursed doll. He chased after He Xiao and headed to the Coiling Dragon Merchant Guild. After arriving at the Coiling Dragon Merchant Guild, the maidservant led Lin Feng and He Xiao to the VIP lounge and went to look for Long Yuedong. Not long after, Long Yuedong arrived. Long Yuedong smiled and said, "This time, a total of 12 stalks of stink grass have arrived. I heard from Sister He that young Master Ji has 3 people here, so I left 3 stalks of stink grass for you." Long Yuedong handed a white jade box to Lin Feng. Lin Feng opened the white jade box and saw 3 black herbs inside. They were 1 inch long and were black in color. These 3 stalks of spirit grass were the stink grass. The stink grass didn't have any poison, but its smell was unpleasant. In reality, it wasn't a medicinal ingredient. If it wasn't for the fact that it was effective against golden-shelled insects, it would be worthless. However, it was precisely because it was effective against golden-shelled insects that it was priceless. "Thank you, fairy," Lin Feng said. Previously, He Xiao told Lin Feng that 1 stalk of stink grass cost 5 million immortal stones. 3 stalks of stink grass cost 15 million. This was only the price of friendship. If it was on the black market, the price would be even higher. Lin Feng took out 15 million immortal stones and handed it to He Xiao. At that moment, a group of more than 10 people entered the lounge. The person in the lead was a rather handsome young man. "Long Zifei, I'm here to discuss business with a guest. What are you trying to do by bringing a group of people in?" Long Yuedong's expression became unsightly. Since this person called Long Zifei also had the surname Long, it meant that he was also a member of the Long family. Long Zifei said, "Aren't there still 3 stalks of stink grass in the treasury? I heard that you transferred those 3 stalks of stink grass away. Bring those 3 stalks of stink grass to me." Long Yuedong said with a gloomy expression, "I've already sold the 3 stalks of stink grass." "Sold? You sold them to this person in front of you?" Long Zifei pointed at Lin Feng, then looked at Long Yuetong and asked. "Yes." Long Yuetong nodded. Long Zifei's expression immediately became gloomy. He said, "These 3 stalks of stink grass are needed by a friend of mine. Now, return this brat's money to him and get the stink grass." Long Yuetong said coldly, "Long Zifei, don't go too far. This is also my friend, and my friend also needs it. Moreover, we've already completed the transaction, so there's no way to break it now. If it's your friend, then it's even easier. If it's a stranger, then it'll be more troublesome." Long Zifei said indifferently. He was very domineering and did not allow Long Yuetong to refute him. Although Long Yuetong was very angry, it was obvious that he was still extremely fearful of Long Zifei. It seemed that Long Yuetong's background was probably not as good as Long Zifei's. Or else, he wouldn't be so afraid of Long Zifei. 12 stalks of stink grass, and you alone took 8 stalks. As the vice president, don't I have the right to take 3 stalks? Long Yuetong said coldly. Obviously, she was still persisting. He didn't want to take the 3 stalks of stink grass back from Lin Feng. If he wanted to go back, this was too much of a disgrace to a friend. How could he be friends with Lin Feng and He Xiao in the future? He probably wouldn't even be able to be friends in the future. Chapter 52:10. Long Zifei had gone too far. Because he was really too much of a bully. Moreover, he was bullying a woman. The reason why Long Zifei dared to bully Long Yuedong like this was naturally not without reason. Although Long Yuedong was also a direct descendant of the Long family, and his ability was also very outstanding, but Long Yuedong was not a member of the first main branch. Large clans and forces like this were naturally formed by many main branches. Long Yuedong belonged to the 5th main branch. Long Zifei was a member of the 1st main branch, and he was also the grandson of the 1st main branch's great elder. His status was much higher than Long Yuedong's. In addition, the 5th main branch that Long Yuedong was in had already weakened to a great extent. It was even possible that they would be stripped of their qualifications as the main branch. If the main branch's qualifications were stripped away, then the status of their branch would plummet. The resources that their branch would receive would also be greatly reduced. With the decrease in resources, it would be even more difficult for their branch to make a comeback. The 1st main branch, on the other hand, controlled the life and death of the 5th main branch. The people of the 5th main branch were naturally very respectful towards the people of the 1st main branch. Lin Feng knew that Long Yuedong was caught in the middle and was in a difficult position. Therefore, Lin Feng felt that he should say something now. He didn't want Long Yuetong, this charming woman, to be in such a difficult position. If Long Yuedong continued to speak, he would even be humiliated. Long Zifei was a person who could do such a thing at a glance. This guy was completely siding with outsiders. For the sake of outsiders, he was able to humiliate his own family. Fortunately, this guy wasn't a member of the Lin family. If he was a member of the Lin family, Lin Feng would have beaten him half to death long ago. Lin Feng said indifferently, "What kind of ability is bullying a woman? Don't you find it embarrassing? Bullying a member of your own family, you really are a traitor." Fortunately, I don't know such a person, otherwise I would feel embarrassed because of such a coward. Lin Feng almost pointed at Long Zifei's nose and scolded him. Although he didn't mention any names, everyone knew who Lin Feng was scolding. Long Yuedong and He Zhao's expressions couldn't help but change slightly. They knew what kind of person Long Zifei was. Long Zifei had a vengeful personality. Now that Lin Feng had offended Long Zifei like this, how could Long Zifei let Lin Feng go? Therefore, they couldn't help but worry about Lin Feng. When Long Zifei heard Lin Feng's words, he was first stunned, then his face turned completely gloomy. Lin Feng actually dared to scold him like this. Of course, Long Zifei was very angry. This is equivalent to, under the watchful eyes of the crowd. It was like being slapped by Lin Feng. The people who followed Long Zifei couldn't help but be shocked. Some of these people were from the Long family, while others were Long Zifei's friends. They did not expect that there was actually someone who dared to insult Long Zifei on Coiling Dragon Island. He even dared to scold Long Zifei. Did he not want to live anymore? "Brat, you dare to scold me?" Long Zifei looked at Lin Feng with a gloomy expression, his eyes flashing with killing intent. "Uff, are you worthy of being scolded by me? Don't flatter yourself." Lin Feng curled his lips and said, looking at Long Zifei with an extremely disdainful gaze. Everyone had a shocked expression on their faces. Originally, everyone had guessed Lin Feng's answer. There were generally two ways to answer this question. First, Lin Feng didn't admit that he had scolded Long Zifei. The possibility of this was naturally very high. After all, Lin Feng might have scolded Long Zifei out of impulse. After reacting to it, he would probably start to feel afraid. He started to regret it, so he might as well not admit it. Second, Lin Feng admitted that he had scolded Long Zifei. Usually, if one chose this kind of situation, they would have absolute confidence in themselves. Actually, these people didn't know Lin Feng's background, but Lin Feng was really too young, so they would naturally look down on Lin Feng. However, what they didn't expect was that Lin Feng didn't treat Long Zifei according to the two ways they had guessed. Instead, he said that Long Zifei didn't even have the qualifications to be scolded by him. Seriously, he was clearly looking down on Long Zifei. Who is this kid? Why is he so pretentious? Someone whispered. Lin Feng's actions. In their eyes, it was too pretentious. I don't know. He looks very unfamiliar, someone said. Then, someone sneered. He's just a brat who doesn't know the immensity of heaven and earth. So just wait and see. This brat will definitely not have a good ending. No one has ever dared to speak to me, Long Zifei, like this. Long Zifei looked coldly at Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, "Is that so? That's because you're a frog in a well, and the people you meet are all unrated characters." "Brat, what are you talking about?" The group of people who followed Long Zifei immediately looked at Lin Feng angrily. Lin Feng's words just now had even scolded them. This infuriated the group of people. Lin Feng said, "Do you not understand human language, or what?" At this moment, He Xiao and Long Yuedong could only smile bitterly. Lin Feng was truly fearless. These people, they were all extremely terrifying characters. If one offended them, they wouldn't have a good ending. However, Lin Feng didn't seem to put these people in his eyes at all. The two of them didn't understand why Lin Feng didn't put these people in his eyes. A strong dragon couldn't suppress a local snake. Although Lin Feng was extraordinary, he was still too young. "Brat, you're courting death." The group of people glared at Lin Feng. One by one, they rubbed their fists, wanting to take action against Lin Feng. He Xiao and Long Yuedong stepped forward, wanting to protect Lin Feng. No matter what, they had to protect Lin Feng. "Get out." But just then, Lin Feng sneered and waved his sleeve. Instantly, A powerful force swept towards the group of cultivators. Bang, bang, bang. Following that, a series of violent collisions rang out. One cultivator after another. They were all swept away. Then, those people. They fell outside in an incomparably sorry state. Many of them had bruised noses and swollen faces. What happened? Many cultivators outside could not help but cry out in alarm as they hurriedly surrounded them and pointed at them. How could this be? I want your life. The cultivators who had fallen to the ground cried out in disbelief, and then got up from the ground, wanting to fight it out with Lin Feng. However, they had just stood up from the ground. A powerful pressure filled the air. It directly suppressed these people. Plop, plop, plop. One cultivator after another was unable to withstand the powerful pressure and directly knelt on the ground. He Xiao was dumbfounded. Long Yuedong was also dumbfounded. They didn't expect it. Lin Feng was actually so terrifying. What cultivation level was Lin Feng at? Chapter 52:11. The shock in He Xiao and Long Yuedong's hearts was almost indescribable. Now, they looked at Lin Feng with deep shock in their eyes. There was also a lot of splendor. Originally, He Xiao was interested in Lin Feng. Now, she was even more curious about Lin Feng. Long Yuedong didn't know much about Lin Feng before, and only felt that since Lin Feng was the man He Xiao liked, he should be quite extraordinary, right? However, Long Yuedong didn't expect Lin Feng to be so tyrannical. So many geniuses. In front of Lin Feng, they couldn't even withstand a single blow. Seriously, it was shocking. Long Yuedong couldn't help but become extremely curious about Lin Feng. Women often like to rely on the strong. If this expert was young, handsome, and had a good personality, that would simply drive women crazy. In the eyes of many women, Lin Feng seemed to be such a man. The cultivators who were kneeling on the ground outside had now come back to their senses. Lin Feng was simply too powerful. So powerful that it made them feel as if they were ants. This feeling was extremely terrible, but it was so real. Although their hearts were filled with incomparable pain for Lin Feng, those people didn't dare to say anything more. Right now, Lin Feng was only asking them to kneel on the ground. If they said anything more, he was afraid. It wouldn't be as simple as kneeling on the ground. When the time came, perhaps Lin Feng would really dare to kill them. The young master inside is really terrifying. I wonder what his cultivation level is. I've never seen this person in the sea god's domain. I wonder where he came from? I'm not sure, but he seems to be very young. Could he be a young genius of the human race who walked out of the divine stone? Maybe he's the descendant of a certain supreme expert of the human race? Some of the cultivators who were watching the show outside began to discuss animatedly. Those cultivators were all discussing Lin Feng's background. Lin Feng was so powerful, and his background was a mystery. It had indeed aroused their curiosity. However, after discussing for a while, they couldn't come up with a reason. Lin Feng looked at Long Zifei and said, "Your name is Long Zifei, right? I won't make things difficult for you. Remember, Long Yuedong is my friend. In the future, restrain yourself a bit. Don't even talk about you. I don't even put your Long family in my eyes. Don't implicate your Long family because of your mistake." Long Zifei's expression was unsettled after being reprimanded by Lin Feng. However, he did not dare to refute, because Lin Feng was truly too powerful, to the point that he couldn't help but tremble in fear. Therefore, even though he felt extremely aggrieved, he could only keep his words to himself. If he dared to act recklessly in front of Lin Feng, he would definitely be punished. Wasn't that courting death? Although he didn't know Lin Feng, Long Zifei could feel that this person in front of him was definitely a ruthless character. What a boastful brat. I want to see what qualifications you have to say that you don't even put my Long family in your eyes. At this moment, a cold laugh was heard. Everyone looked over and saw a skinny old man with a gloomy face walking towards the VIP lounge. It's the great elder of the Long family's first main branch, Long Yensen. When someone saw this old man, they immediately exclaimed, "What? He's the great elder of the Long family's first main branch, Long Yensen? I heard that this person is a Tao Immortal Realm expert." Then, A cultivator said. This is all old news. 3 years ago, Long Yinsen had already broken through to the quasi-gold immortal realm. Now, he's only half a step away from entering the gold immortal realm and becoming a true great golden immortal. At this moment, another cultivator said, Great Elder, that brat inside humiliated us like this. He doesn't put our Long family in his eyes. Great Elder, you must avenge us. The few disciples of the Long family who were kneeling outside immediately shouted. These people's eyes were bloodshot. When had they ever been humiliated like today? As a result, at this moment, they were about to go crazy. Previously, they were afraid that Lin Feng would kill them, so they didn't dare to say anything. Now that they saw the backbone of the Long family, they naturally became bolder. Long Yinsen looked gloomily at the disciples of the Long family, then stepped into the hall. After entering, Long Yinsen fiercely glared at Long Yuetong. He said coldly, Long Yuetong, you've made a good friend. Long Yuetong was very afraid of the Great Elder. Therefore, when he heard the Great Elder's question, Long Yuetong's face became very pale. Lin Feng said indifferently, Why don't you say that he's a good grandson? You're just a piece of trash who pushes everything to others, especially when you encounter problems, to a woman. Previously, this Long Zifei acted all arrogant, but later on, I found out that this guy is also a piece of trash who bullies the weak and fears the strong. I was wondering why this guy was such a piece of trash. It turns out that it's hereditary. An old piece of trash who taught a young piece of trash really comes from the same origin. When they heard Lin Feng scolding Long Yinsen, everyone was shocked. Long Yinsen was not someone that those young masters could compare to. Long Yinsen was such a powerful existence, a high and mighty figure. Furthermore, he was a quasi-golden immortal realm cultivator. This was not something that a young cultivator could contend against. However, Lin Feng knew how powerful Long Yinsen was, but he still cursed Long Yinsen loudly, causing everyone to be puzzled. They didn't know why Lin Feng would do this. Grandfather, this brat is too arrogant. If we don't teach him a lesson, he will really think that our Long family is easy to bully. Long Zifei said. Now that Long Yinsen was here, Long Zifei was naturally no longer afraid of Lin Feng. Instead, he sneered at Lin Feng. It was as if he was looking at a dead man. Get out and kneel. Lin Feng looked coldly at Long Zifei. He waved his sleeve. Long Zifei was directly sent flying. Then, Long Zifei was the same as the others. He also knelt on the ground. You dare to humiliate me like this? Long Zifei's eyes immediately turned red as he struggled to get up. However, he couldn't get up at all. To humiliate Long Zifei like this in front of Long Yinsen, he is truly audacious. That's right. Long Yinsen will probably tear that brat into pieces later. That brat is dead for sure. Many cultivators started to discuss. They naturally didn't think highly of a young cultivator like Lin Feng. Your name is Long Yinsen, right? I can't be bothered to fight with an old trash like you. If you scram now, I won't bother with you. Lin Feng looked at Long Yinsen and said indifferently. When Lin Feng said that, Lin Feng's expression changed. Around, suddenly, there was complete silence. Everyone. They all looked at Lin Feng in disbelief. They couldn't even believe their ears. Because Lin Feng's words. He was really too pretentious, completely not putting a quasi-golden immortal realm expert in his eyes. Chapter 52:12. Scolding Long Yinsen and not putting Long Yinsen in his eyes were two completely different concepts. There could be many reasons to scold Long Yinsen. For example, he could scold Long Yinsen out of anger or disdain for Long Yinsen's behavior. Of course, there was also a possibility that after being blocked by Long Yinsen, he knew that today's matter could not be settled peacefully. In this case, he could also scold Long Yinsen. In fact, many people really felt that Lin Feng's scolding of Long Yinsen was a bit of a hopeless situation, because in many people's eyes, Lin Feng was blocked by Long Yinsen, and Lin Feng was a young cultivator. No matter how powerful he was, it was absolutely impossible for him to be a match for Long Yinsen. So, before he died, he might as well vent his anger. So, Lin Feng scolded Long Yinsen, even calling him an old trash. He really scolded whatever was unpleasant to hear. However, Lin Feng looking down on Long Yinsen was another matter. Everyone found that Lin Feng's tone was full of contempt for Long Yinsen. He did not put Long Yinsen in his eyes at all. This was worth remembering. Kid, did you choose the wrong person to show off to? Long Yinsen looked coldly at Lin Feng. Lin Feng said, Act cool? I didn't act cool. Why would I act cool? Damn, wasn't he just acting cool by telling Long Yinsen to scram? Many people could not help but roll their eyes. Although they were not very clear about Lin Feng's specific strength, Lin Feng's ability to act cool was absolutely unparalleled. It seemed that he was acting cool all the time. The corner of Long Yinsen's mouth could not help but twitch slightly. Then, he looked gloomily at Lin Feng and said, Kid, this seat is too lazy to continue talking nonsense with you. This seat will suppress you now. After you are suppressed by this seat wants to see if you will still be as stubborn as you are now. As soon as he finished speaking, Long Yuansen sent a palm strike towards Lin Feng. Long Yinsen knew that Lin Feng was good at talking, so he chose to take action directly. A dispute between cultivators. His eloquence was indeed enough to infuriate people half to death, but in the end, it still depended on one's own cultivation. This was because disputes between cultivators would ultimately be resolved by force and not by talking. Long Yinsen is making his move. I wonder how many moves that kid can block? That kid's cultivation is not bad. He should be able to resist for a while. It doesn't matter how many moves he can block. He is absolutely no match for Long Yinsen. Is an expert at the pseudo-gold immortal stage something to be trifled with? Many cultivators began to discuss among themselves. They didn't think highly of Lin Feng, so naturally, they had their reasons to think highly of Lin Feng. The actual situation was exactly as they said. A quasi-golden immortal level expert. It was definitely a terrifying existence. Facing Long Yinsen's attack, Lin Feng didn't hold back. He directly used the Supreme Reincarnation Fist. When the Supreme Reincarnation Fist was activated, the thousands of grand formations in Lin Feng's body were also activated. When these grand formations were activated, they could increase the power of the Supreme Reincarnation Fist. A grand formation formed by a type of grand formation would increase the power of the attack. The power of thousands of grand formations was enough to kill even gods and Buddhas. The reason why Lin Feng's attack was so powerful was not only because of the strength of his divine ability, but also because of the strength of his own accumulation. Every time he broke through, Lin Feng's strength would increase tremendously. Especially after Lin Feng broke through to the Earth Immortal stage, his strength had undergone an earth-shaking change. He was no longer the same as before. Therefore, when Lin Feng used the same divine ability, its power was many times stronger than when he hadn't broken through to the Earth Immortal stage. Lin Feng's current strength was almost at the pinnacle of the Tao Immortal stage, or the pseudo-golden immortal level. However, Lin Feng's divine ability was very powerful. When one's strength was about the same, divine abilities would often play an important role. Therefore, it was very difficult for cultivators at the pinnacle of the Tao Immortal stage, or the pseudo-golden immortal level, to gain an advantage over Lin Feng. Long Yinsen's cultivation level was very high. However, his divine ability was far inferior to Lin Feng's. Even if he used all his means, he might not be able to defeat Lin Feng. Moreover, Long Yinsen's current strength, he had only used an ordinary divine ability. However, Lin Feng had used his trump card. It was obvious who was superior. Bang! Lin Feng's Supreme Reincarnation Fist and Long Yinsen's palm collided. Long Yinsen's attack was instantly broken by Lin Feng. Lin Feng's powerful punch sent Long Yinsen flying. Lin Feng's Supreme Reincarnation Fist was too powerful. Long Yinsen vomited blood from the impact. His face was as pale as paper. How is this possible? Am I seeing things? It's actually Long Yinsen who was injured. The cultivators who were watching the show exclaimed. Their eyes almost popped out of their sockets. Long Yinsen was defeated by Lin Feng, and he was even beaten to the point of vomiting blood. It was too unbelievable. This can't be real. The disciples of the Long family who were kneeling outside couldn't accept it. A pseudo-golden immortal level cultivator was defeated just like that. And the person who defeated this pseudo-golden immortal level cultivator was so young. It really made people envious. He Xiao and Long Yuedong were also extremely shocked. When they came back to their senses, everybody was looking at Lin Feng in a strange way. Lin Feng directly sent out a series of sealing runes. Those sealing runes directly sealed Long Yinsen. Let me go. I was caught off guard by you. Otherwise, I wouldn't have lost. Long Yinsen struggled. He couldn't accept the fact that he had lost. He still wanted to fight Lin Feng. Many people shook their heads. A loss was a loss. Although Long Yinsen might not have used his full strength, many people felt that Lin Feng might not have used his full strength either. Even if Long Yinsen had used his full strength, Lin Feng should have had a way to deal with him. In fact, these people were right. Lin Feng really hadn't used his full strength. Only by using the domineering magnetic field could Lin Feng's strength be pushed to the limit. First, the domineering magnetic field could increase Lin Feng's strength. Second, the domineering magnetic field could weaken the opponent's strength. One strength would decrease while the other's strength would increase. It had a huge impact on the battle. Lin Feng ignored Long Yinsen and said indifferently, "There's no need to hide anymore. I know you're here. Come out now. Otherwise, I'll immediately kill this old trash. Do you believe me?" Since ancient times, heroes come from the young. Young man, why do you have to be so aggressive? Can't you let people off when you can? Suddenly, an aged voice resounded, and then an old man appeared out of thin air within the hall. Everyone could feel an immortal and indestructible aura from this old man. Immortal golden immortals. This old man. Chapter 52:13. The Long family's golden immortal expert had arrived. This matter had really blown out of proportion. The cultivators who were watching the show didn't mind it. Therefore, all of them were as excited as if they had been injected with chicken blood. Even a golden immortal level cultivator had come out. This time, there would be a good show to watch. They didn't know what would happen next. Would the Long family's golden immortal expert fight with that young human young master? At this time, many experts of the Long family's main bloodline rushed over when they heard the news. When they saw the disciples of the Long family kneeling on the ground, their faces were extremely gloomy. However, when they saw Long Yinsen being suppressed by Lin Feng, their hearts were like a huge wave. How did a young cultivator do this? It was simply unbelievable. Anyone who saw such a scene would probably have such a thought. It was indeed very inconceivable. But all of this was the truth. That young man was indeed too awesome. They didn't know how the Golden Immortal Patriarch would deal with this matter. However, many people felt that this matter was more troublesome. That young master was so terrifying at such a young age. Who knew if there was any terrifying force behind him? Although the Long family now had a Golden Immortal level expert. However, the Long family only had one Golden Immortal level expert. Now, the Long family could be considered as a rather impressive force in the Sea God Sea region, but in the Undying Realm, it could not be considered as a particularly powerful force. Therefore, if the Long family offended some forces that they couldn't afford to offend, it would bring disaster to the Long family. Therefore, although the upper echelons of the Long family were very angry, however, they still hoped that the Golden Immortal Patriarch could calmly deal with what happened today. Don't be impulsive. Impulsiveness was the devil. But they couldn't say these words to the Golden Immortal Patriarch. "Thank you for your compliment," Lin Feng said with a faint smile. The Long family's Golden Immortal Patriarch had been observing Lin Feng. Lin Feng was so young, but he was so powerful. It was indeed very rare. However, in the eyes of the Long family's Golden Immortal, this was not the most important thing. The most important thing was Lin Feng's bearing. After the conflict, the other party's Golden Immortal expert arrived. However, Long Feng still had a calm expression on his face. What did this mean? This meant that Lin Feng must have experienced many big scenes. Otherwise, how could he be so calm? Therefore, the Long family's Golden Immortal instantly determined. The young man in front of him, he was definitely an existence that the Long family could not afford to offend. Furthermore, the Long family's Golden Immortal even had a strong feeling. Even if he made a move, it was very likely that he would not be able to take down the young man in front of him. When this feeling arose, the Golden Immortal of the Long family could not help but be shocked. He did not know why such a thought would appear in his mind. Could it be that this young man in front of him was really so powerful and terrifying? The golden immortal of the Long family was also a shrewd existence. He could naturally tell that the young master before him didn't seem to want to completely fall out with the Long family. Otherwise, he wouldn't have spared the lives of the Long family members. The Long family's golden immortal glanced at Long Yuetong, and his heart skipped a beat. Long Yuetong and this young master in front of him seemed to be friends. This conflict with the Long family. It was also because Long Yuetong was being bullied that he took action. Could it be? Was there an ambiguous relationship between the two of them? Long Yuetong was indeed very beautiful. His character was good as well. The young man in front of him was at the prime of his life. Seeing such a top-grade beauty like Long Yuetong, indeed, some thoughts might arise. Thinking of this, the Long family's golden immortal smiled. He felt that the Long family might be able to use Long Yuetong's relationship to get closer to Lin Feng. Lin Feng naturally saw the smile on the Long family's golden immortal's face. Lin Feng could not help but mutter, "What was this old thing thinking? Why did he reveal such a strange smile?" At this moment, the Long family's golden immortal said, "Young friend, thank you for showing mercy and not harming the lives of my Long family members," said Lin Feng indifferently. "I gave the Long clan face, so I didn't kill them. But the Long clan needs to teach their disciples a lesson. Long Zifei is such a piece of trash. I don't think the Long clan has only one. He even dares to bully his own clan members." The Long family's golden immortal said, "Young friend, don't worry. Soon, the Long family will properly rectify these unhealthy practices." Hearing this, Long Zifei's face turned extremely pale. As the saying goes, the gun shoots the bird that sticks out. The Long family's golden immortal had already said that he wanted to rectify the Long family's atmosphere, but he, Long Zifei, had directly bumped into the muzzle of the gun. This time, the outcome would probably be very miserable. "All right, I don't want to participate in your Long family's matters. I still have things to do, so I'll be leaving first," Lin Feng said. He nodded at Long Yuetong and left with He Xiao. The Long family's golden immortal did not stop him. After Lin Feng left, he quickly left as well. Long family's mansion. Discussion hall. Long family's golden immortal. The upper echelons of the 5 main branches of the Long family were all gathered here. Other than that, including Long Yuetong, he was also called over. "Yuetong, how did you get to know that young man?" The Long family's golden immortal looked at Long Yuetong and asked. Everyone looked at Long Yuetong. They were also curious. Long Yuetong, how could he get to know such an extraordinary person? Could it be because she was beautiful? Thinking about it, it was possible. That young master was very young and was the most curious about women. Naturally, he liked beautiful women. A top-notch woman like Long Yuetong could naturally attract the young master's attention. Thinking of this, the upper echelons of the 5th main branch couldn't help but feel excited. If Long Yuetong really had a good relationship with that young master, then, to their bloodline, it was too important. Perhaps that young master had casually said something about their main branch identity. It wouldn't be taken away. Moreover, being able to establish a relationship with such a young expert was extremely important for the future. Everyone was very clear about this point. Therefore, the people from the other main branches couldn't help but be jealous of the 5th main branch. But this kind of thing couldn't be jealous. Who asked the 5th main branch to produce such a top-notch woman like Long Yuetong? Long Yuetong said, "Young Master Ji was He Xiao's friend before, and we only got to know each other through He Xiao's recommendation." "You called him Young Master Ji? Is his surname Ji?" the golden immortal patriarch asked. The surname Ji was very rare. So, the golden immortal patriarch couldn't help but ponder. He wanted to search his mind for a top power with the surname Ji. However, the golden immortal patriarch didn't have any clues. Long Yuetong said, "I don't know if his surname is Ji, but he said his name is Ji, so we call him Young Master Ji." Chapter 52:14. The patriarch of the Long family was in the prime of his life. He was tall and burly, full of vigor. His name was Jin Yanhuan. He was of the same generation as Jin Yinsen. However, Jin Yinsen was much older than Jin Yanhuan. Jin Yanhuan had been cultivating in the heaven realm for many years. Later, he returned to the undying realm and became the patriarch of the Long family. It was said that he had broken through to the quasi-golden immortal realm. Moreover, Jin Yanhuan's future was not something that Jin Yinsen could compare to. Although Jin Yinsen was a quasi-golden immortal, he was old and his body was weak. Breaking through to the golden immortal realm was as difficult as ascending to the heavens. Because Jin Yanhuan was in the prime of his life, his vigor was the strongest in his life. Therefore, it was highly probable that Jin Yanhuan would break through to the golden immortal realm. After all, it was the power of an entire family, pushing himself to the golden immortal realm. It wasn't impossible. Yanhuan, what's wrong? Do you know that young man? The Long family golden immortal asked in surprise. The others were also very surprised because there were very few things that could make Jin Yanhuan lose his composure. But today, Jin Yanhuan lost his composure after hearing the other party's name. This was extremely rare, but it was enough to explain just how extraordinary was that young master. I don't know him, but I've heard of him. I just don't know. Is he the person I've heard of? Jin Yanhuan said. Oh, tell me about it. The Long family golden immortal said with interest. Jin Yanhuan said, some time ago, I was invited to the 9 deity regions by a good friend. Everyone knows that the 9 deity regions and the Sin realm are close, so I heard a lot of rumors in the Sin realm, including the Sinner's Blood Emperor Lin Feng. Sinner's Blood Emperor Lin Feng? That's a powerful person. He's the son of Lin Beitian. Who is Lin Beitian? He inherited the fate of an era. Rumor has it that in the time reversal world, Lin Beitian had just entered the true immortal realm, but he killed 7 ancient saints in a row, shocking the world. At this time, a member of the Long family said solemnly, "What? There's such a thing?" Everyone was shocked. First, they were shocked by the young man's identity. Secondly, they were shocked by Lin Beitian's combat strength. True immortals were indeed very powerful. However, true immortals were like ants in front of sage realm cultivators. Besides, Lin Beitian had only just achieved the true immortal realm. That should be the virtual immortal realm, right? Killing 7 ancient sages at the virtual immortal realm? Even in his dreams, he wouldn't dare to have such a dream. One had to know. Those who could be called ancient sages were not ordinary sage realm cultivators. They were all top experts in the sage realm. It must be fake. After a brief moment of shock, someone immediately said, unable to believe these words. The Long family's higher-ups replied, I heard this from the ancestor. Did the patriarch say that? The upper echelons of the Long family were dumbfounded. They didn't think that their ancestor would lie. Everyone looked at the Long family's golden immortal. The patriarch was referring to this golden immortal expert. The Long family's golden immortal said, this is true. Because someone had used a memory crystal to record that battle. I was lucky enough to see it. After hearing his ancestor's affirmative answer, Li Chia nodded. Everyone's breathing quickened. It was like a myth. It had actually become real. That person. How had he done it? 7 ancient sages. What kind of world was that time reversal world? How could there be so many ancient sages? Someone asked. The Long family's golden immortal smiled bitterly and said, I don't know what kind of world it was because I've never been there. However, it was said that there were some undying sage realm experts hiding there to avoid danger and to seek a breakthrough. As for Lin Beitian, he had just broken through to the true immortal realm and was at his weakest. The 7 ancient sages wanted to kill him and steal his fate, but Lin Beitian killed them instead. What? He killed 7 ancient sages in a weakened state? Everyone felt as if their minds were about to stop working, because his ancestors' words were simply too shocking. The Long family's golden immortal said, if this was just hearsay, I wouldn't believe it either. However, I saw the image in the memory crystal, so I have no choice but to believe it. At that moment, one of the Long family's higher-ups said, how did this guy cultivate to be so strong? The Long family's golden immortal said, Lin Beitian is definitely an unparalleled cultivation genius. I heard that he created the heavenly boundless divine technique. He's invincible. The heavenly boundless divine technique? What kind of technique is that? Everyone looked at the Long family's golden immortal in confusion. The Long family's golden immortal said, "I don't know much, just a little." It said that the heavenly boundless divine technique has a recultivation technique that allows one to recultivate their cultivation base without limit. Every time they recultivate, their battle power will increase exponentially. Recultivate? How do I recultivate? Someone asked curiously. For example, after Lin Beitian reaches the true immortal realm, he can sever his Tao. He can sever his cultivation base, and in the end, his cultivation base might be at the Void God realm or even lower. He can then recultivate. The Long family's golden immortal said. At that moment, another Long family's golden immortal said, if he does that, his cultivation base will drop, and his battle power will drop as well. If that's the case, when his enemies come, won't they die without a grave? The golden immortal of the Long family said, the most terrifying thing about the heavenly boundless divine skill is that after the cutting path is successful, the realm will only drop, but the combat strength will not drop. Therefore, if the realm can be cut from the true immortal realm to the martial disciple realm, although the cultivation level is only in the martial disciple realm, but the combat strength of the true immortal realm, you can imagine how terrifying a martial disciple realm cultivator who has the combat strength of a true immortal will be when he cultivates again to the true immortal realm. The most terrifying thing is that the heavenly boundless divine skill can theoretically cut the path countless times. After the Long family's golden immortal finished speaking, in the hall, only the sound of heavy breathing could be heard. No other sound could be heard. The expressions on everyone's faces were incomparably fascinating. The Long family's golden immortal's words were too shocking. If the heavenly boundless divine technique was really that terrifying, then this technique, it was definitely the strongest technique in history. Chapter 52:15. That Lin Feng, he doesn't know this technique, does he? Is that why he's so strong at such a young age? One of the Long family's higher-ups asked. I'm not sure. The Long family's golden immortal shook his head. Then he said, if he knows this technique, then it makes sense for him to be so strong. The most terrifying thing is, he doesn't know this technique, but it's already so strong. It's hard to imagine how strong he'll be after he cultivates this technique. Everyone fell into deep thought after hearing the ancestor's words. The ancestor's words, it made a lot of sense. I heard that Lin Beitian is on the verge of dying. He has a grudge with that unspeakable world. Someone said it this time. The Long family's golden immortal said, we don't have the right to participate in this matter, and we don't have the right to know the specifics. However, I know about it. What is it? Everyone looked at the ancestor in confusion. The Long family's golden immortal said, those existences are so strong that they can even control the birth and destruction of epochs, but they still can't kill Lin Beitian. Everyone fell into deep thought after hearing the ancestor's words. No one knew how strong the mastermind's world was. It seemed that anyone who was targeted by them would die without a burial place. But Lin Beitian, he was still alive. This could indeed explain a lot of things. I heard that many people have submitted to that world. One of the Long family's higher-ups said. Long Yinhuan sneered and said, submitting to that world and becoming their slave, on the surface, seems to greatly increase the chances of survival. So, there are indeed many people trying to establish a relationship with that world, but they don't know, even if they do, what's the point of establishing a relationship? When the war breaks out, they'll be cannon fodder. They'll be the first to die. There are still some who can survive, someone said. The Long family's golden immortal said, those who don't submit to that world can still survive. The Long family's golden immortal didn't dare to say anything else. The golden immortal from the Long family said, 3,000 eras is an epoch, and 3,000 eras is a cycle. We are now in the 3,000th epoch of the 3,000th epoch. In the past, the existence of that world controlled the birth and destruction of the epochs. But now, it's the end of the 3,000 epochs, so perhaps something big will happen. Long Yinhuan asked doubtfully, Ancestor, are you referring to? The golden immortal from the Long family replied, there are no immortal powers. Even the powers from that world are the same. Indeed, Long Yinhuan nodded. The upper echelons of the Long family were all old foxes. Naturally, they knew what the old ancestor meant. There was a huge change. It was a great opportunity. The ancient powers might be overthrown. A new order. Perhaps it would be born. The Long family's golden immortal looked at Long Yuedong and said, Yuedong, young people should interact more and increase their relationship. Look at that girl from the Bai Shao Pavilion. You understand this principle. Don't make yourself too busy every day. You can leave the matters of the Chamber of Commerce to your subordinates. Everyone understood what the Long family's golden immortal's words meant. The Long family's golden immortal was just short of directly saying, Yuedong. You also know how extraordinary Lin Feng's identity is. Hurry up and seduce Lin Feng. It would be best if Lin Feng could become the son-in-law of our Long family. Actually, that was the general meaning. Naturally, Long Yuedong could understand. Her pretty face blushed slightly, and then she said, Yes, ancestor, Yuedong will remember. All right, you can go and rest first. The Long family's golden immortal smiled and said, Yuedong will take her leave. Long Yuedong replied and then bowed. Then, she left. Lin Feng naturally did not know about the conversation between the people of the Long family. After leaving the coiling dragon chamber of commerce with He Xiao, Lin Feng wanted to send He Xiao back, but He Xiao said that she was resting today, so she would not go back. Lin Feng could not help but mutter in his heart. Didn't he just rest? Why is he resting again? Of course. Lin Feng didn't tell her what he was thinking. Since He Xiao said she was resting, then he would treat it as if she was really resting. When does young master plan to leave? He Xiao asked. Tomorrow, Lin Feng said. He Xiao asked, After this farewell, I don't know when I will be able to meet young master again. Lin Feng said, If I have time, I will come to Coiling Dragon Island to visit the ferry. Hearing Lin Feng's words, He Xiao immediately became happy. After walking around with He Xiao for a while and having lunch, Lin Feng sent He Xiao back. After leaving He Xiao's place, Lin Feng did not stop and directly returned to his residence. Seeing that Lin Feng had returned, the cursed doll said with a teasing expression, Why are you back so soon? Could it be that the galloping has already ended? Cursed doll, of course, was a filthy mouth that couldn't spit out anything decent. Lin Feng said, Gallop your sister. The cursed doll said, I don't have a sister. Lin Feng was speechless. He had the urge to beat the cursed doll into a cripple. Fortunately, Lin Feng resisted. At night, someone knocked on the door. Lin Feng went outside and opened the door. He found that it was Long Yuedong. Long Yuedong was even taller than Lin Feng. She had a pair of long and slender legs. She was a peerless beauty with a good figure. In addition, she had a body like a Western horse. She would be the center of attention wherever she went. Lin Feng even noticed that some of the guests who were strolling in the villa area were looking at Long Yuedong from time to time. There were many beauties in the world. However, a foreign beauty like Long Yuedong was really rare. After seeing Lin Feng, Long Yuedong smiled and said, Young Master Ji, I didn't disturb your rest by coming here, did I? Of course not, Lin Feng said with a smile. At the same time, he was a little puzzled. He did not know why Long Yuedong was here. Could it be that she was here to thank him for what happened during the day? Other than this reason, Lin Feng could not think of any other reason for her to come here. Lin Feng glanced at the cultivators in the distance and said, Fairy is too charming. So those people in the distance are looking in this direction. If we stay outside for a while, we will probably attract more people. Let's go in and talk. Long Yuedong naturally knew how charming she was. She also saw the cultivators in the distance who were looking in her direction from time to time. After hearing Lin Feng's words, Long Yuedong was a little happy. Chapter 52:16. Long Yuedong followed Lin Feng into the living room. The cursed doll and little son were both in the room. Little son was resting. The cursed doll was cultivating. Fortunately, the cursed doll did not appear. If this guy appeared, who knows what kind of nonsense he would say. Lin Feng poured a cup of spirit tea for Long Yuedong, and then Lin Feng sat beside Long Yuedong. Long Yuedong said, I think young master should be leaving soon. Since young master needs something like the stink grass, you should be going to the Mermaid Sea area, right? Yes. Lin Feng nodded. Long Yuedong said, Right now, The Mermaid Sea area is rather chaotic. The Mermaid Empire, the Sea Devil Empire, and the Nether Devil Empire often fight, so that place is not peaceful. Lin Feng had heard he shall talk about this before. Therefore, he had some understanding of the situation of the three empires. It was said that these three empires were also mortal enemies. After all, they lived in a sea area. In order to compete for resources, there would definitely be conflicts. Under this kind of long-term conflict, the hatred would grow. Therefore, in the end, it became a feud. This was also an extremely normal thing. Lin Feng said, I heard he shall talk about the three empires. Long Yuedong nodded and then said, Our Long family has some business dealings with the three empires. Therefore, for our Long family's sake, the three empires will still give us some face. I have a Long family token here for young master. If you encounter any trouble in the Mermaid Sea area, take this token and find any of the three empires' royal families. They will definitely help you. As Long Yuedong spoke, he took out a spirit tablet. This token was the size of a palm and was milky white in color. On the front was a huge dragon bearing its fangs and brandishing its claws. On the back, the word dragon was written. This meant that this token was the Long family's token. Lin Feng did not refuse. This token might really be useful to him. He accepted the token and said, Thank you, fairy, for giving me this token. In the future, if you have any problems that you can't solve, you can also ask me for help. Long Yuedong smiled and said, All right, if I have any problems in the future, I'll definitely ask sir for help. Lin Feng smiled and nodded. They chatted for a while longer. Long Yuedong got up and left. Lin Feng felt that Long Yuedong was kind enough to give him a token in the middle of the night. If he were to let the girl go back alone, wasn't that too rude? Hence, Lin Feng personally sent Long Yuedong back, which made Long Yuedong extremely happy. Long Yuedong was naturally an extremely famous woman on Coiling Dragon Island. She was the goddess in the hearts of countless people. Therefore, when he saw Long Yuedong with a man, and they were talking and laughing together, the people on the street all had an expression of disbelief. Could it be that Long Yuedong, this foreign horse, had also been tamed by a man? After thinking of this, many people looked at Lin Feng with envy and jealousy. That look, it was as if he wanted to eat Lin Feng alive. However, Lin Feng did not pay attention to those people at all. He sent Long Yuedong to the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce. Long Yuedong basically lived in the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce and did not live in the family, mainly because the distance was a bit far. It would take a lot of time to go back and forth every day. So, he might as well stay at the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce. This trip to the Mermaid Sea will definitely be very dangerous. Young master, you must be careful. Long Yuedong said. Lin Feng nodded and said, Thank you for your concern, fairy. I will definitely be more careful. Then I'll be going back. Long Yuedong said, All right, let's go back. Lin Feng waved his hand. Long Yuedong turned around and walked towards the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce. After Long Yuedong entered the Coiling Dragon Chamber of Commerce, Lin Feng headed towards his residence. Killing intent? Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. Although the other party's killing intent was hidden very well, Lin Feng could still sense it. However, that killing intent was not targeted at him. Lin Feng looked ahead and saw a dozen or so cultivators. Killing intent. It was emitted from the bodies of those dozen or so cultivators. Those cultivators. He was dressed in black and wore a bamboo hat. They hurriedly walked towards the depths of the island. Lin Feng's heart couldn't help but tremble slightly. Who were those people? From the looks of it, his cultivation wasn't weak. It should be a group of experts. However, Lin Feng didn't think too much about it. It had nothing to do with him anyway. When Lin Feng returned to his residence, the sound of a dragon's roar came from afar. Another dozen or so huge dragons flew over, with cultivators standing on their backs. It should be the dragon knights of the Myriad Dragon Island. Not long after, Lin Feng saw his blood chi churning. Experts from the Blood Robe Pavilion had also arrived. In the Sea God's domain, the five great powers were the absolute rulers. Powers like the Long family were actually much weaker than the five great powers. The main reason was that their foundation couldn't compare to the five great powers. Of course, Coiling Dragon Island was the Long family's territory, so the five great powers wouldn't be too presumptuous here. Although the Long family couldn't compare to the five great powers, they couldn't be underestimated either. After all, they had a gold immortal realm expert overseeing them. Back at his residence, Lin Feng went to rest. Late at night, Lin Feng woke up. He opened his eyes and frowned slightly. Lin Feng walked out of his room. The cursed doll seemed to have sensed something as well. It also walked out of its room. The two of them came to the courtyard outside and immediately found a black-robed cultivator covered in blood lying in the courtyard. It's him. When he saw the black-robed cultivator, Lin Feng couldn't help but think of the group of black-robed men he saw before. This person was the leader of the group. At that time, although Lin Feng didn't see what this person looked like, he remembered his aura. Therefore, he couldn't have mistaken him for someone else. Lin Feng didn't expect that this person would actually appear here. Did he escape here by chance? Or did he deliberately escape here? After the cursed doll checked, it looked at Lin Feng and said, "This person is dead." Dead? Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. At that moment, the blood aura filled the air. A large amount of blood aura enveloped the small courtyard Lin Feng lived in. Then, a cultivator wearing a blood-red robe stepped out of the blood aura. It was the blood robe guard of the blood robe pavilion. After seeing this blood robe guard, Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. He had seen the blood robe guard several times. Lin Feng couldn't help but think of the time when the blood robe guard and the dragon knights had joined forces to deal with the group of black-robed men. They had deliberately let that person lead his companions to rescue the people they had captured. Unexpectedly, Chapter 52:17. In fact, Lin Feng felt that there was something fishy about this matter. Because, for a cultivator from such a large power, often, they could not do whatever they wanted. They needed to see the orders from above. The people above. Naturally, they would think more comprehensively. The people above definitely knew that this was a trap and were waiting for them to fall into it. Wouldn't sending people here be the same as falling into a trap? It was the same as sending people to their deaths. What was the difference? However, even though they knew it was a trap, they still fell into it. This explained the problem. Therefore, Lin Feng felt that these people had taken the risk to rescue their captured companions. Perhaps it was not as simple as saving people. There might be other important reasons. "Hand over the corpses," the blood-robed guard said in an unquestionable tone. Lin Feng was speechless. No matter where he went, there seemed to be such self-righteous people everywhere. The cursed doll curled its lips and said, "Who the hell do you think you are? How dare you make a fuss here? I think you need to be taught a lesson." "Bastard! How dare you be so impudent? You are simply courting death." The blood-robed guard's expression was indifferent. His expression was indifferent. He opened his hand and attacked the cursed doll through the air. Suddenly, in the void, a giant energy palm was formed. The energy handprint instantly appeared in front of the cursed doll. Just as it was about to envelop the cursed doll, suddenly, the cursed doll stretched out its hand and gently tapped the energy hand. Then, that energy palm was directly shattered. The cursed doll's methods were naturally very powerful. Although this blood strike guard was very powerful, he was still able to defeat the cursed doll. Although the blood-robed guard was very powerful, it was impossible for him to take down the cursed doll in a short time. Lin Feng did not attack the blood-robed guard. The cursed doll alone was enough to deal with the blood-robed guard. However, Lin Feng sealed the void, mainly because he was worried that his aura would leak and attract the other blood-robed guards. There were many blood-robed guards on Coiling Dragon Island. It was not difficult to deal with a lone blood-robed guard. However, if they faced a large group of blood-robed guards, they would definitely be in trouble. The blood strike guard had also sensed that Lin Feng had sealed the void. However, he didn't stop Lin Feng. This was because the blood strike guard had absolute confidence in himself. In his opinion, it would be easy to deal with Lin Feng and the cursed doll. In any case, Lin Feng and the cursed doll would definitely die. Therefore, there was no need to stop Lin Feng from sealing the void. In truth, the blood-robed guard didn't even try. If he had tried to stop Lin Feng from sealing the void, he would have discovered that, given his strength, He had no way of stopping Lin Feng. There was no way to stop Lin Feng. Then, this fellow wouldn't be as self-righteous as he is now. Boundless Blood Sea. The blood-robed guard couldn't help but shout when he saw that the cursed doll had broken his super ability. He then used an even more powerful super ability. This time, the Blood Strike guard pressed his palms together as a boundless ocean world appeared behind him. In that vast ocean world, it was actually a world of blood. The smell of blood permeated the air. Eerie, terrifying, bloody. It made one's heart tremble. The blood-red ocean quickly rushed towards the cursed doll. Let's see how you'll die. The Blood Strike guard looked at the cursed doll with an indifferent expression. His boundless blood sea. It was really powerful. Therefore, in his opinion, the cursed doll couldn't withstand the attack of the boundless blood sea. Demon rises 10 feet. Evil rises 10 feet. I am evil saint. Defeat all heavens. At that moment, the cursed doll stepped towards the Blood Strike guard. This time, the cursed doll didn't use any curse arts. This surprised Lin Feng, because in the past, the cursed doll had only used curse arts to deal with others. The cursed doll knew many curse arts. All kinds of powerful curse arts were at his fingertips. Therefore, he was incomparably skilled in using curse arts. If he said that he was the second best in the world in using curse arts, no one would dare to be the best. This was the cursed doll. It was simply born for the Tao of curses. It was precisely because the cursed doll used curse arts every time he attacked that Lin Feng neglected one thing. That was, the cursed doll's cultivation was powerful. In addition to curse arts, he must have mastered some other top-level supernatural powers. However, when fighting with others, the cursed doll was used to using some of the more familiar curse arts. Many people had this habit. When fighting with others, they would often use their best skills first. At this moment, the cursed doll's body emitted a powerful evil light. When it was enveloped by the evil light, it instantly rushed into the boundless blood-red ocean. The blood-red ocean couldn't do anything to the cursed doll. The cursed doll successfully crossed the blood-red ocean. It arrived in front of the Blood Strike guard. Then, it punched towards the Blood Strike guard. The Blood Strike guard obviously didn't expect the cursed doll to be able to break his supernatural power. It also attacked his original body. However, the Blood Strike guard's cultivation was strong and his reaction was fast enough to face the cursed doll's tyrannical attack. The Blood Strike guard hurriedly punched out. However, when the Blood Strike guard's fist collided with the cursed doll's body, it instantly dissipated. An afterimage. The Blood Strike guard's expression changed drastically. Immediately, he moved to the left. However, it was too late. The cursed doll. It arrived behind the Blood Strike guard and punched him. The Blood Strike guard didn't have time to dodge and was sent flying by the cursed doll's punch. Crack, crack. He somersaulted a few times in the air, and the sound of bones cracking could be heard. Wah! With great difficulty, he finally stopped. He spat out large mouthfuls of blood. His face, it became as white as a sheet of paper. You're actually so strong. The Blood Strike guard looked at the cursed doll in disbelief. Only now did he realize that he had underestimated his opponent. Your grandfather, I only used 30% of my battle strength just now. The cursed doll curled its lips. It quickly charged towards the Blood Strike guard. It wanted to kill the Blood Strike guard in one go. At this moment, due to the restriction around them, it would take some time to break the restriction. The Blood Strike guard didn't have the time to break the restriction. Therefore, he directly charged towards Lin Feng. In the Blood Strike guard's eyes, Lin Feng was a young cultivator. Although his cultivation was very strong, however, there was still a big gap between him and Lin Feng. Therefore, he wanted to capture Lin Feng and use him to threaten the cursed doll. Chapter 52:18. The cursed doll couldn't help but shake its head. Some people always thought themselves infallible and thought themselves clever. But little did they know, this kind of person, they were simply stupid to the extreme. In the cursed doll's opinion, this blood-robed guard was this kind of person. Why would he find trouble with Lin Feng for no reason? If he didn't find trouble with Lin Feng, he might be able to live a little longer. Finding trouble with Lin Feng, he was really sending himself to death. But obviously, the blood-robed guard didn't think so. He felt that Lin Feng was a soft persimmon. "Kid, I've suppressed you." The blood-robed guard rushed in front of Lin Feng and flipped his hand. Suddenly, a black demonic mountain flew out. This black demonic mountain was formed by a magical ability and directly suppressed Lin Feng. The power of the black demonic mountain was extremely tyrannical. Such power, it was absolutely shocking. But in Lin Feng's opinion, it was just an ordinary attack. Lin Feng lightly swept the air. Then, sword chi shook the air. A ray of sword chi flew out. It slashed towards the blood-robed guard. The speed of the sword chi was too fast. In the blink of an eye, it had already arrived beside the demonic mountain. The sword chi Lin Feng slashed out was extremely tyrannical and directly destroyed the demonic mountain. Then, it quickly arrived in front of the blood-robed guard. The blood-robed guard's expression suddenly changed, because he felt the aura of death from the sword chi. Only now did the blood-robed guard realize. It turned out that the young human cultivator was actually even stronger than the guy from before. This time, he had really kicked an iron plate. The blood-robed guard wanted to dodge, but he had already been locked down by Lin Feng's sword chi. There was no way for him to dodge Lin Feng's sword chi attack. The blood-robed guard cried out in horror, "Spare me! Don't kill me! Don't kill me!" But Lin Feng didn't care about this guy at all. Pooh! In the next moment, a tearing sound was heard. The sword chi. It instantly tore apart the blood-robed guard's body. Blood-robed guards. He died on the spot. The headless corpse fell to the ground. Not only did he fail to act tough, he even got F****ked. This guy deserved to die. The cursed doll curled its lips. Lin Feng walked up to the dead man in black and took the storage ring from his hand. Then, his divine sense probed inside. He carefully searched the area. There were quite a lot of things inside. However, there wasn't a single thing that was worth paying attention to. That shouldn't be the case. There should be something special about it. But what exactly was it? Lin Feng didn't know what to say, because everything was just his guess. Because he couldn't find those things in the storage ring. Lin Feng guessed. Perhaps it was hidden in this person's body? Thinking of this, Lin Feng tried to use his inner sight to search this person's body. They searched the area. Still nothing. Could I have guessed wrongly? Lin Feng couldn't help but mutter to himself. The cursed doll asked, "What are you looking for?" Lin Feng said, "I don't know exactly what it is, but I've seen this person before." At that time, he came to Coiling Dragon Island with a group of experts. They seemed to have come to rescue the men in black who were captured by the blood-robed guards and the Dragon Knights. Therefore, I suspect that these people's true purpose wasn't to rescue them, but that there might be something they needed among those who were captured, so these people wanted to take those things away. After hearing Lin Feng's explanation, the cursed doll couldn't help but show a hint of interest. He said, "Let me search and see if there are any clues." Lin Feng nodded. Then, the cursed doll used its divine sense to search. After searching for a while, the cursed doll found nothing, just like Lin Feng. The cursed doll said, "There's nothing. Maybe you're overthinking it?" Lin Feng was a little unwilling to give up. He said, "Let me try again." Then, Lin Feng's divine sense once again invaded the person's body. Lin Feng first searched his mind. He couldn't find anything in his mind, so he searched along the person's 8 extraordinary meridians. Lin Feng searched many of the acupoints in the person's body. However, he still didn't find anything. It seemed that he really couldn't find anything. Then, Lin Feng's divine sense searched the person's dantian again, but he still didn't find anything. "I really can't find anything. Maybe I'm overthinking it." Lin Feng frowned slightly and said, "Oh right, don't you have a rabbit? Let that rabbit come out and search," the cursed doll said. Lin Feng said, "Are you talking about the dragon rabbit? This guy can only find treasures hidden in the forest. It can't find treasures hidden in a person's body." "Hee, it's fine. Let's try it first," the cursed doll said. Lin Feng nodded and summoned the dragon rabbit. "Little guy, take a look and see if there's any treasure in this guy's body," Lin Feng said. The dragon rabbit nodded. It then jumped to the side of the corpse. Then, the dragon rabbit shot out a ray of immortal light and entered the corpse. This method. It seemed that this was the dragon rabbit's new skill. All these years, the dragon rabbit was also constantly growing and transforming. So the current dragon rabbit, it had also grasped many powerful methods that it had never grasped before. After searching for a while, the dragon rabbit didn't gain anything. Lin Feng was speechless. It seemed that there really wasn't anything to be gained. Lin Feng let the dragon rabbit return to the time and space. Then, he released 2 balls of flames. The 2 corpses were burned to ashes. But what surprised Long Feng was that, after the black-clothed man's corpse was burned, he actually left behind something. That thing was a key, and it was a golden key. Damn, this golden key can't be that special thing, right? Lin Feng picked up the golden key. He had been searching for a long time, but he didn't find this golden key. He didn't know where the golden key was hidden in the dead black-clothed cultivator's body. This guy really knew how to hide things. Lin Feng carefully observed the golden key. He found that there were actually many mysterious imprints on the golden key. He tried to refine the golden key, but unfortunately, the golden key couldn't be refined, because that golden key, it didn't seem to be a magic treasure. Let me see what this is, the cursed doll said. Hearing that, Lin Feng handed the golden key to the cursed doll. After the cursed doll observed for a while, it couldn't see anything. It then handed the golden key to Lin Feng. Although I don't understand what this is now, I might know the origin and use of the golden key in the future, the cursed doll said. Lin Feng nodded. Chapter 52:19. The next day, Lin Feng and the other 2 set off for the Mermaid Sea. They still didn't know what the situation was like in the Mermaid Sea. Therefore, Lin Feng decided to wait until they arrived at the Mermaid Sea before making a detailed observation. Lin Feng summoned the Xinyuan Ancient Starry Sky Ship. The speed of the Xinyuan Ancient Starry Sky Ship was extremely fast. Lin Feng and the other 2 rested on the ship. Lin Feng took out the other 2 stalks of stink grass and gave them to Cursed Owawa and Little Sunday. The smell of the stink grass was extremely pungent. It made people feel nauseous, but it was such a thing. It could scare away the golden-shelled insect. Everything in this world had its vanquisher. Half a month later, Lin Feng and the others arrived at the Mermaid Sea. In other sea areas, there were more cultivators. But after arriving at the Mermaid Sea, they didn't see any cultivators for a long time. The Mermaid Sea was indeed a deserted sea area. Of course, it wasn't that they didn't see any cultivators at all. In fact, they could occasionally see some cultivators coming and going. However, it was unknown if those cultivators had the stink grass or not. Lin Feng guessed that they probably didn't. It wasn't easy to get something like the stink grass. Lin Feng hoped that the corpse of the sea lady could form a connection with the sea god ancient city. If it could really form a connection, they might be able to find the sea god ancient city. Therefore, Lin Feng had been observing the corpse of the sea lady. But the corpse of the sea lady had always been very calm, without any movement. Of course, Lin Feng wasn't sure if the corpse of the sea lady would form a connection with the sea god ancient country. That was just Lin Feng's beautiful expectation. What Lin Feng and the others didn't expect was that Lin Feng and the others were attacked by cultivators. More than a dozen huge pirate ships surrounded Lin Feng and the others. A young master was sitting on the main ship. There were also a few cultivators standing beside the young master. Those few people, they were actually the people who followed Long Zifei back then. They were all Long Zifei's friends. Hee, kid, you didn't expect to be surrounded by us, right? One of them looked coldly at Lin Feng. After seeing this person, Lin Feng couldn't help but be slightly taken aback. He immediately recognized this person. However, Lin Feng didn't know who this person was. People from the Long family? Or are you a pirate? Lin Feng asked doubtfully. Of course they're from the Desolation Pirates, the cultivator said coldly. The Desolation Pirates were the top pirate group in the Undying Realm, the pirate king of destruction. It was rumored that he was an extremely terrifying existence. The rise of the Desolation Pirate King was legendary. Back then, the Pirate King of Nirvana was just an ordinary pirate. Later on, the Desolation Pirate King found an ancient cultivator's cave abode. Because of this, he obtained a fortuitous encounter. From then on, the carp leaped over the dragon gate. However, even after he became powerful, he still continued to be a pirate. Because pirates killed people to steal treasures. It was faster to make a fortune. The Desolation Pirates grew stronger and stronger. As the captain of the Void Pirates, the Void Pirate King had an endless supply of cultivation resources. As such, he was getting stronger and stronger. In fact, this was the result of complementing each other. The more powerful the Desolation Pirate King was, the higher the prestige of the Desolation Pirates among the pirates, the more pirates or cultivators they could attract to join them. The strength of the Desolation Pirates continued to increase. As the strength of the Desolation Pirates increased, they began to set their sights on stronger cultivators, islands, or even some naval forces. The things they plundered were also getting better and better. In this way, they could also feed the Desolation Pirate King and the cultivators of the Desolation Pirates. Therefore, the current Desolation Pirates were already a terrifying force that even the 5 great powers did not dare to easily offend. Moreover, many of the major forces had close relationships with these pirate groups. The reason for this was because there were many transactions between the two sides. As a result, when the great powers on the sea said that they would attack the pirates and maintain order on the sea, it was simply bullsh*t. It was completely a lie to outsiders. He couldn't believe this nonsense. If he believed it, if he was sold, he would probably have to count the money for them. Last time, I only made you kneel on the ground. I felt that I should have directly beaten you to death. It seems that I have miscalculated, but it doesn't matter. Since you stray dogs have jumped out again, I will teach you a lesson again. This time, I will throw you into the sea to feed the sea beasts. Lin Feng could not help but curl his lips and say, "Brat, you are too arrogant. Brat, don't be arrogant. You will cry later." A few cultivators glared at Lin Feng. They couldn't wait to cut Lin Feng into 1,000 pieces. "With just you trash?" Lin Feng said sarcastically with an extremely disdainful expression. "Brat, you are indeed arrogant." At this time, the young master in the lead revealed a sinister smile. Lin Feng did not know this person. Previously, he had never shown his face. Lin Feng said, "The reason why I am arrogant is because I have the qualifications to be arrogant. This young master has seen many people like you. Just because you have some ability, you think you are infallible. What do you think? Can you resist the siege of so many of us?" The young master in the lead sneered. "Hee hee, if you don't try, how will you know?" Lin Feng sneered. The other party did not come with good intentions. Lin Feng was not afraid of them. At worst, he would just fight. What was there to be afraid of? So what if you have more people? Attack. The young master in the lead gave the order to attack. Next, the cannons on more than a dozen pirate ships all aimed at Lin Feng's Xinyuan ancient ship. Boom, boom. Next, huge cannonballs shot out. They flew out from the cannons. They whistled fiercely. They quickly bombarded the Xinyuan ancient ship. The pirate ships of the top pirate groups in the Undying Realm were quite terrifying. Even if they could not compare to the Xinyuan ancient ship, the difference was not particularly big. The key was, the other party had more pirate ships. This was the tricky part. However, Lin Feng still had some confidence in the Xinyuan ancient ship. The Xinyuan ancient ship's defensive restrictions activated. Next, under Lin Feng's command, the humanoid puppet began to ignite the huge cannons. Boom, boom, boom. The cannons on the Xinyuan ancient ship also shot out huge cannonballs. Some of the cannonballs from both sides collided in midair. Then, the cannonballs that collided exploded. Some of the cannonballs did not touch the other party's cannonballs and directly landed on the defensive light shield outside the other party's ship. When they collided with the defensive light shield, the cannonballs, they exploded. The defensive light shields of many ships shook from the explosions. Chapter 52:20. Fire, fire, fire. The captains of the Desolation Pirates roared one by one. More than a dozen pirate ships constantly fired cannonballs at the Xinyuan ancient space city, and Lin Feng naturally wouldn't be passive. The Xinyuan ancient spaceship was also fighting back. After being modified, The Xinyuan ancient spaceship had hundreds of giant cannons. These giant cannons could increase the power of the cannonballs. The cannonballs they fired were much more powerful than the opponent's cannonballs. So, even if Lin Feng only had one boat, he would still be able to do so. In this kind of battle, there were no signs of defeat. The two sides were in a stalemate. At this moment, in the distance, golden light flashed. They looked like golden clouds. They flew over quickly. Not long after, those golden clouds flew over. Looking carefully, how were they golden clouds? They were simply golden-shelled insects that blotted out the sky and earth gathered together. That was why they looked like golden clouds. Those golden-shelled insects, they were about the size of a thumb and looked like 7 spotted ladybugs. But the color of their shells, claws, and even the color of their eyes were all golden. Every part of the golden-shelled insect's body was golden. This was the origin of the name golden-shelled insect. Those golden-shelled insects, they quickly pounced on the Xinyuan ancient space city and more than a dozen pirate ships. A swarm of golden-shelled insects. Damn it, we actually encountered a swarm of golden-shelled insects. After seeing these golden-shelled insects, the pirates couldn't help but curse. Actually, after entering the Mermaid Sea, they didn't encounter golden-shelled insects every time. If they were lucky, they wouldn't encounter golden-shelled insects. If they were unlucky, they would encounter golden-shelled insects. Now, their luck didn't seem to be very good. Crack, crack. The golden-shelled insects began to gnaw at the defensive light shield. Lin Feng wanted to control the Xinyuan ancient space city to jump through the void and leave. However, when these golden-shelled insects appeared, these golden-shelled insects actually sealed the void. The ability of these golden-shelled insects was too terrifying. Because the void was sealed, therefore, the Xinyuan Starry Sky ancient city was also unable to leave through the void. Take out the smelly grass, Lin Feng said in a deep voice. Yes. The cursed doll and little son nodded. He quickly took out the stink grass. Lin Feng placed the stink grass into a sachet and hung the sachet on his waist. The scented sachet turned into a smelly sachet after it was filled with the stink grass. Crack, crack. The swarm was still gnawing at the defensive light shield. Under the gnawing of the swarm, defensive light barrier, it was getting weaker and weaker. The situation was not good. Lin Feng no longer had any hope that the barrier would be able to stop the golden beetles. Lin Feng could only hope that the stinky grass would be able to disperse the golden beetles. If the golden-shelled insects didn't work, Lin Feng planned to summon the swarm that he had cultivated. He escaped with the help of the swarm. An hour later, the defensive light shield of the Xinyuan ancient city was destroyed by the golden-shelled insects. Then, the golden-shelled insects that blotted out the sky and covered the earth pounced towards Lin Feng, the cursed doll, and little Sunday. When the golden-shelled insects flew halfway, as if they were frightened, they quickly retreated. It really works, the cursed doll said in surprise. No need to be eaten by the insects. No need to be eaten by the insects. Little Sun clapped his hands happily. This little guy was extremely nervous before. He was afraid that he would be eaten by the golden-shelled insects. Lin Feng finally let out a long breath. At this moment, the defensive restrictions of more than a dozen pirate ships were also destroyed by the swarm. Then, the swarm began to fly towards the cultivators on the pirate ships. The swarm treated the pirates on the pirate ships as their lunch. But at this moment, every pirate ship had an ancient lamp lit on it. The ancient lamp was hung at the bow of the ship. Green smoke floated out of the ancient lamp. When the golden-shelled insects smelled the smoke, they began to retreat quickly. It should be a kind of fuel refined from the stink grass. That's why the swarm was scared away, Lin Feng said. The cursed doll said, "These guys came prepared." Lin Feng said, "The reason I had a conflict with these people before was because of the stink grass." The cursed doll said, "What do we do now? Should we leave or continue fighting?" Lin Feng said, "Why should we leave? Destroy their ancient lamps. When the time comes, they'll suffer." Ha 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 ha, that's a good idea. The cursed doll immediately laughed. Lin Feng took out the Hoi bow and then took out a dozen arrows. Although the power of these arrows was far from being as powerful as the Sunshot God arrow, however, To be honest, they were still extremely tyrannical. Especially, the Hoi Bao could increase the power of those arrows. The power of the arrows was definitely terrifying. Lin Feng knocked his bow and shot. So. One arrow after another was shot out by Lin Feng. Those magical arrows each locked onto an ancient lamp. As the swarm was retreating, therefore, Lin Feng's arrows were concealed by the swarm of insects, so he was able to deceive everyone. When the arrows passed through the swarm of insects, the cultivators on the pirate ship finally came back to their senses. Because the speed of the arrows was too fast, therefore, it was already too late for him to destroy the arrows that were flying towards him. Bang, bang, bang. In the next moment, the arrows directly shot at the ancient lamps hanging on the bow of the ship. One by one, the ancient lamps shattered. "This sound is really beautiful," the cursed doll said with a smile. Damn it, the pirates on the pirate ship couldn't help but curse, because those ancient lamps had been destroyed. Even the fuel in the ancient lamps had been destroyed. So, the swarm of insects no longer had anything to fear. The swarm of insects that blotted out the sky and covered the earth quickly flew towards the dozen or so pirate ships. "Ha ha ha ha, this young master gave you a gift. Do you like it?" Lin Feng laughed and said, "Brat, I'm going to tear you into pieces." The young master in the lead roared in exasperation. "Idiot, let's get through this first," Lin Feng said sarcastically. In the next moment, screams of agony rang out one after another. Many pirates wanted to break out of the encirclement. However, the golden-shelled insects had already completely surrounded this place. It was very unrealistic to break out of the encirclement, because under the attack of the golden-shelled insects, a large number of pirates died tragically. And Lin Feng and the others didn't stay here. The Xinyuan ancient city quickly flew into the distance. In the blink of an eye, it had already left that area. 6 hours later, suddenly, huge waves surged in the sea. The entire sea seemed to be shaking. Whoosh! The sound of water breaking could be heard. Then, tentacles as thick as mountains quickly stretched out from the underwater world. Chapter 52:21. Those huge tentacles had suction cups on them. It should be a huge life form like an underwater octopus. However, an ordinary octopus couldn't grow to such a size. He didn't know what kind of octopus this was. Lin Feng brought out the 5 stone swords. The 5 stone swords quickly slashed towards the octopus tentacles. However, what surprised Lin Feng was that when the 5 stone swords slashed the octopus tentacles, they actually didn't cause any damage to the octopus tentacles. This was because many mysterious runes appeared on the surface of the octopus tentacles. Those runes blocked the attack of the 5 stone swords. This meant that the octopus monster that attacked the Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship was definitely not an ordinary octopus monster. Otherwise, it wouldn't be so terrifying. Those thick tentacles directly wrapped around the Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship. At the same time, a huge tentacle fiercely whipped towards Yixian. The cursed doll and little son were also attacked by the octopus tentacles. Lin Feng summoned the 5 stone swords. The octopus tentacles were really terrifying. Therefore, Lin Feng gave up on attacking the octopus tentacles. After putting away the 5 stone swords, Lin Feng quickly dodged the octopus tentacles' attacks. The octopus tentacles' attacks were smoothly dodged by Lin Feng. But there were too many tentacles. Therefore, more and more tentacles kept whipping towards Lin Feng. The cursed doll and little son were also in a sorry state. The young little son was so scared that his little face turned pale. Lin Feng quickly rushed to little son's side and grabbed his little hand. He brought little son and flew towards the sky. After dodging the octopus tentacles' attacks, the cursed doll also flew towards the sky. But at this moment, the Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship was dragged into the sea by the octopus. Damn it! After seeing this scene, Lin Feng's face turned gloomy. The cursed doll said, "We definitely met our match today. That octopus is probably an existence that has lived for a long time. Let's hurry up and leave. Otherwise, we will be eaten by that octopus sooner or later." "My Xinyuan ancient starry sky ship," Lin Feng said with heartache. "It's just an ancient ship. It can't compare to our lives. The cursed doll said. Lin Feng nodded with a gloomy face. He was planning to escape with little Sun and the cursed doll. Right at this moment, the sound of water splashing could be heard. The Xinyuan ancient city was thrown out by the octopus. Then, the ancient starship Xinyuan rammed towards Lin Feng's trio. After seeing the ancient starship Xinyuan, Lin Feng's face lit up with joy. He hurriedly put the ancient starry sky ship, Xinyuan, into his space-time space. Human cultivators, hand it over. At this time, a voice came from the sea. Next, a group of cultivators flew out from the sea. There were both men and women among them. The woman was extremely beautiful. The man was extremely ugly. In terms of appearance, they were very similar to humans. When the living beings in the universe changed their forms, or when their races evolved, they would all take on the appearance of humans. This was because during the era of innate humans, humans had already taken on their current appearance. It was said that innate humans were born with the ability to communicate with the great Tao. Therefore, the other races evolved towards humans because the more similar they were to humans, the easier it was for them to communicate with the great Tao of heaven and earth. In the beginning, the races on land were the first to evolve towards innate humans. Later, even the races in the sea began to evolve towards innate humans. It's the mermaid race, the cursed doll said.
Yes.
Lin Feng nodded. The other party was indeed a mermaid race cultivator. Lin Feng wasn't particularly familiar with the mermaid race, but he had some interactions with them before. The mermaid race was also a branch of the mermaid race. However, when outsiders talked about the mermaid race, they didn't refer to the mermaid race, but other races. For example, these mermaids in front of him. The octopus monster was probably brought here by these mermaids. Just now, the octopus monster attacked Lin Feng's trio. Lin Feng muttered in his heart. What was the meaning of this? A show of strength? The cultivator who spoke just now should be the leader of the group. She was a beautiful woman who looked to be about 30 years old. Her figure was voluptuous and sexy. The women of the mermaid race were like this. Each one was sexier and more beautiful than the other. However, one mustn't be deceived by the appearance of mermaid women. Although mermaids were beautiful, they were a warlike race. Therefore, no matter how beautiful mermaid women were, they weren't gentle like water. When these women were ruthless, they would be quite terrifying. Mermaids were quite terrifying. Lin Feng looked at the beautiful woman and asked, "What do you want?" "A golden key," the beautiful woman said. "A golden key?" Lin Feng couldn't help but frown slightly. This beautiful woman actually knew that he had a golden key on him. That was really strange. Could it be? This beautiful woman had a way to sense the golden key on him. The black-clothed cultivator who died back then. Could it be that he was also a mermaid race cultivator? Perhaps there was such a possibility. However, Lin Feng didn't know what the golden key was for. The mermaid race had been scheming to obtain the golden key. The Bloodcloak Pavilion, Myriad Dragon Island, were also eyeing the golden key covetously. This was enough to show how extraordinary the golden key was. "Are you talking about this golden key?" Lin Feng took out the golden key. Then, he played with it in his hand. When they saw the golden key in Lin Feng's hand, the eyes of the mermaid race cultivators lit up. "Give it to me," the beautiful woman said. "Give it to me." "Why should I?" Lin Feng sneered. Lin Feng had been attacked by the octopus for no reason, so he was still suppressing his anger. Naturally, he couldn't give the golden key to them. At that moment, an ugly mermaid race cultivator said coldly, "Kid, if you know what's good for you, hand over the golden key quickly. Otherwise, we'll make sure you die without a burial place." Lin Feng sneered. "Are you threatening me?" "It's not a threat. It's a warning," the mermaid race cultivator said coldly. Lin Feng sneered. "I'm afraid you don't have the ability to do that. What if we include the deep-sea monster?" the woman asked. She was also threatening Lin Feng. Obviously, the deep-sea monster she was referring to was the octopus that had attacked Lin Feng's group earlier. That octopus was indeed powerful. However, if he couldn't beat it, he could leave. If Lin Feng wanted to leave, the octopus would have a hard time stopping him. Lin Feng looked at the woman and sneered. "If I want to leave, the octopus won't be able to stop me. Moreover, Before I leave, I have enough time to destroy this golden key. Do you believe me? When she heard that Lin Feng wanted to destroy the golden key, the woman's expression changed. She quickly said, "Don't be rash. Don't destroy the golden key." Chapter 52:22. Are you afraid? I thought you guys weren't afraid of anything. Lin Feng couldn't help but grin. State your conditions. What do you want? As long as we can satisfy you, you will definitely be satisfied. The woman said, "You don't have the right to negotiate with me right now," Lin Feng said. "Brat, you're too arrogant." The mermaid clan male cultivator said coldly. Lin Feng said, "Arrogant? I don't think I'm arrogant. If you want to negotiate, let this disrespectful fellow slap himself 10 times first." "What did you say?" shouted the mermaid furiously. His social status wasn't simple, and he was extremely strong. Lin Feng dared humiliate him like that? How could he accept that? Hence, he looked at Lin Feng as if he wanted to cut Lin Feng into pieces. "Don't you understand human language?" Lin Feng said indifferently. The merman gritted his teeth and looked at Lin Feng. He really wanted to kill Lin Feng right there and then. However, the woman didn't say anything, and he didn't dare to do anything. "Your request is too much." The woman said, "I can change my request. If you can satisfy my other request, I can negotiate with you," Lin Feng said with a smile. "What request?" the woman asked. "Get on my ancient starship, Xianyuan, and accompany me for 3 days," Lin Feng said with a smile. His eyes fiercely glanced at the beautiful woman's voluptuous and alluring body. "Brat, are you courting death? Brat, who do you think you are? How dare you have ideas about our Lord?" After hearing Lin Feng's words, the woman didn't say anything. Her subordinates were already glaring at Yixian. The woman was so charming that her subordinates probably thought of her as a goddess. Therefore, how could they allow Lin Feng to blaspheme their goddess? Therefore, the group of people became angry. "I'm talking to this great beauty. It's none of your business. Go away," Lin Feng sneered. The mermaid tribe male cultivators wanted to say something, but they were stopped by the beautiful woman. The beautiful woman said, "You've gone too far. No one has ever dared to be so impudent in front of me." Lin Feng replied, "Just because others don't dare doesn't mean that I don't dare. I'll give you some time to think about what to do." The beautiful woman looked at the mermaid clan cultivator who had targeted Lin Feng and said, "Axa, a slap, until this young master forgives you." The corner of the mouth of the merfolk cultivator named Axa twitched violently. He wanted to refuse, but in the end, he didn't say anything. The mermaid clan had a strict hierarchy, and he did not dare to disobey the orders of the beautiful woman. "Yes," Axa nodded. He glared at Lin Feng with venomous eyes, then began to slap himself. "Pa pa pa pa." Axa slapped himself again and again. This guy was quite heavy-handed. It could be seen. He was a ruthless person. Lin Feng said, "It seems that I've helped you face what your inner world is like." "What do you mean?" The beautiful woman looked at Lin Feng coldly. Lin Feng said, "I've helped you make your choice." The beautiful woman naturally knew what Lin Feng meant. However, she did not say anything, nor did she refute him. "All right, you can stop now," Lin Feng said. Axa stopped. He lowered his head and clenched his fists. His eyes were filled with killing intent. Lin Feng said indifferently, "Axa, you should feel lucky that I didn't take your life, so you'd better not come looking for trouble with me again. Otherwise, you will die a miserable death." Humph! Axa did not answer Lin Feng, and only snorted coldly. Lin Feng could not be bothered with what Axa was thinking. If this guy wasn't honest, he didn't mind sending him to hell. "Can we negotiate now?" the beautiful woman asked. Lin Feng said, "I have a few questions. You have to answer me truthfully." The beautiful woman frowned slightly, but she did not refuse Lin Feng. The beautiful woman said, "All right, if you can answer the question, I'll tell you." Lin Feng asked, "What is the origin of this golden key?" The beautiful woman said, "It is said to be an inheritance from the era of the titled gods." Lin Feng was surprised. This golden key actually had such an ancient history? It was really surprising. Lin Feng continued to ask, "What secret is hidden behind the golden key?" The beautiful woman said, I'm not too sure about that. You're lying. Lin Feng said, I'm not. I'm telling the truth, the beautiful woman replied. Lin Feng couldn't help but raise his eyebrows slightly. Indeed, he could sense that the beautiful woman's answer was not a lie, because when one lied, one's emotions would fluctuate. No matter how well it was hidden, it would also cause fluctuations. It might be possible to deceive ordinary people. However, Lin Feng's spiritual will was too powerful. Therefore, it was impossible to deceive Lin Feng. However, the beautiful woman's emotions did not fluctuate at all. She was very calm, which meant that the beautiful woman was not lying. Since she was not lying, everything the beautiful woman said was the truth. Therefore, the beautiful woman really did not know what the golden key was for. How did you know that I have a golden key? Lin Feng asked. Her Highness the Princess told me. The beautiful woman said, Your Highness? The Princess of the Merfolk clan? Lin Feng asked. Yes. The beautiful woman nodded. How did she know that the golden key was with me? Could it be that she has the ability to predict the future? If she had the ability to predict the future, your people wouldn't have all died on Coiling Dragon Island. Lin Feng seemed to be talking to himself. The beautiful woman said, Because the princess also has a golden key. Oh, does she have a golden key too? Lin Feng asked. It seemed that the golden keys had a special connection with each other. Or a special connection. That was why the Merfolk princess could sense that the golden key was with him. I want to see your princess, Lin Feng said. The beautiful woman couldn't help but frown slightly. In the end, she nodded and said, Okay. Lin Feng smiled and asked, What is your relationship with the princess? I am the princess's guard commander. The beautiful woman said, It's just a princess, but she has a guard commander? Lin Feng was surprised. The beautiful woman said, Our princess is the crown princess and will soon become the ruler of the Merfolk Empire. Isn't it normal to have a guard commander? I see. You're tuning in to the Warrior Lore YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.